prices. And just in time for the holiday season, look good, feel good and save money at Salento Strabane. Don't miss it. Euro rate 85 pence and free parking at Salento.
Is that me again, is it?
Summer is here, and that's why Super Value is making sure it's the summer of savings. Enjoy great offers like selected goodies like O'Donnell's Sharing Crisps, 7-Up and Pepsi 2 litre, and Nestle multi-packs and pouches, any 3 for €5. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be Super Value.
What was the last thing you said? What was the last thing you said to me before I sat down in this chair?
I said I had all the jingles knocked off, all the things, and just straight into the news. Was that not the case? Was it not? Big sleepy head on me today.
Sure, look, it's halfway through the day for you. It's all right for me. I'm only starting.
No. You have all the papers in front of you, full of business today?
Full of business today. No time for any small talk with you,
all right, good luck to you, boy.
I'm just full on. Get into this mode now.
You can do it, Daddy. Boom,
all
boom.
Right, thanks, buddy. All right, it's 9 o'clock, a minute past now. Let's get a news update, and it's over now to Donald Kavanagh.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 1 in 3 people say they're just about getting by financially, with just over 12% saying they'd be able to cover costs just for a month if they were hit by an income shock. A study of 1,500 people carried out by the Competition, Consumer and Protection Commission has found Ireland's wealth gap has widened. Homeless campaigner Father Peter McVerry says the situation is much more serious in some areas.
Now, I live in an area with a lot of low-income families, and I would say many of them couldn't even get through 3 days if there was an income shock, if their welfare was withdrawn, for example. The requests I get, to be honest, are €2 for the bus into town. I get a request for maybe €3 or €4 to get a prescription out of the chemist.
Donegal County Council is being told that while Uisce Éireann works due to take place in Uras Clonmany will resolve a number of issues in the area, they will not address the key problem faced by several residents, particularly those living on higher ground. Councillor Rena Donaghy says the laying of 800 metres of new pipes will help, but a reservoir will be needed to ensure a uniform and reliable supply for all residents, adding that a reservoir had been proposed several years ago when water was still under council control. At her behest, Donegal County Council is to contact Uisce Éireann asking for the reservoir to be put back on the agenda.
Ultimately, what we do need is a reservoir in Uras so that people that are in the higher areas will be accommodated. As you go into Uras and as you start climbing and get higher up, those people at the end, they don't get water for hours after everybody else. And I have proposed that a strongly worded letter be sent to Irish Water to look at the bigger picture. As well as the new pipeline, we do need a reservoir.
A meeting between the incoming Director General of RTE and Media Minister Catherine Martin has been brought forward to today. It's after further revelations at an Oireachtas committee yesterday of lavish spending from a series of barter accounts. And the group representing victims of abuse in the Defence Forces has rejected the terms of reference for an inquiry into what's been described as a culture of bullying and abuse. Women of Honour are criticising what they say is Taoiseach Micheál Martin's decision to ram through what they believe are flawed terms of reference, which they will be opposing when they meet him later today. Retired Army Captain Diane Byrne says the terms of reference as proposed simply don't go far enough.
If you don't have the broadest terms of reference, it automatically excludes huge chunks of people, many victims whose lives were destroyed by, in the more subtler ways, but in very, very difficult circumstances that, just don't fit into a neat little box that's been put forward in the terms of reference by the state.
Weather forecast Met Éireann tell us a freshening southerly wind will bring rain and drizzle through the morning, becoming heavy and widespread in the afternoon with some spot flooding possible. Top temperatures 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. Southerly winds becoming fresh to strong. It'll stay windy tonight with rain, again heavy in places with possible flooding. Mild and humid. Lowest overnight temperatures 12 or 13. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with more at 10 o'clock.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, 4 minutes past 9. A very good morning to you on this Thursday, the 6th of July, 2023. You're welcome along to another edition of your 9 till Noon Show, and plenty to keep you informed, entertained. We've got some live music a little later on and lots more besides, as you know yourself. We'll keep you across all the big stories of the day. But we're here for you too. If you wish to raise your concerns, your issues, pass on some news, some good news, an act of kindness, something that's positive in your life, we're more than welcoming of such information as well. But how do you get in touch? Well, I tell you every morning, and I'm going to do it again today. You WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. Now, if you're outside the Republic of Ireland, 00353 86 60 25,000. Caroline and Neve taking your calls this morning, 07491 25,000. Again, if you're outside the Republic, 00353 7491 25,000. And emails from wherever you are to comments at highlandradio.com. Thursday mornings, a bumper morning for newspapers. Let's start with the Tyrconnell Tribune. Letterkenny draft plan now in mothballs. That's according to a leading member of Donegal County Council who says the changes proposed by the Office of the Planning Regulator are not acceptable and will not be addressed in the council chamber because June's local elections next year are just around the corner. Councillor Michael McBride says there is no appetite to reduce zoned lands by half, to reduce housing projections by thousands of units, or to implement flood mitigation proposals that would reduce the value of land, some of it right in the heart of the town. He said that there were about 20 meetings in all to find a way forward, and there has been no real progress. Asked if the OPR may take back control of the plan, Councillor McBride said there is a very real possibility of that happening, especially when no progress has been made at the many meetings of the council in the past 4 months. Detailed coverage of that on the front of and inside the Tyrconnell Tribune. The Donegal Democrat tells us that arrests are imminent over Slieve League death. Gardaí are closing in on the arrest of chief suspects following the death of a man in southwest Donegal. The man whose body was found in the water off Slieve League on Monday was due to stand trial from smuggling over €6.6 million worth of drugs. It's now likely that the investigation will be upgraded to a murder inquiry after the badly beaten body was recovered in the early hours of Monday morning, following a week-long search operation. While Gardaí have officially referred to the matter as a serious assault, a source told Donegal Live that the resources assigned to the case are consistent with a murder probe. Just to remind you, 2 suspects have been identified in a case that has brought a dark cloud over the scenic tourist hotspot. Gardaí, who have remained tight-lipped, have been keen to build an extensive dossier, and while it was not expected that any update would be forthcoming before Thursday morning, sources say that arrests were imminent. The Donegal News this morning, Gardaí will meet business leaders in Letterkenny tomorrow to discuss growing fears over violent crime in the town. Traders have called for a greater Garda presence on the street following the widespread circulation of a video showing an alleged altercation involving knives in Letterkenny Courtyard Shopping Centre last Saturday. Reports of a man carrying baseball bats on the street in a recent separate incident have also heightened fears of growing violent crime and the need for resources to prevent it. And I don't want to add any fuel to the fire, but speaking to people from outside Letterkenny that might be inclined to go into it, and we might as well have the conversations that we're having privately out in front. Some say they do not feel that they don't feel as safe as they once did, perhaps even during the day, walking through Letterkenny. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying it's what I feel. I'm just telling you it's what people have said to me. Is that something that you feel, or you're a business person that believes there needs to be a greater Garda presence to move people along? Maybe sometimes I was through the town not so long ago and had to step out into the road a couple of times with groups of people gathered around the place. I don't know. Does that? It doesn't bother me particularly, but does that create a certain sort of a feeling or vibe? I don't know. If you've got feelings on that, let me know. 086 60 25,000. Well, a meeting will take place tomorrow between Gardaí and representatives of Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce to discuss growing concerns. The Chief Executive Officer of Letterkenny Chamber, Tony Forrester, said the Chamber has long been calling for extra Garda presence on the streets of the town, and I think for reassurance it would do no harm, at least for a period, to have a visible policing presence, just to make people feel secure. Things can change really quite rapidly in a place, in terms of what might happen into the future. As I say, if that's something you have a feeling on or something you want to get involved in, 086 60 25,000. The Derry News this morning. A visitor to Derry has thanked the Good Samaritan who went well above and beyond for himself and his friend during their recent holiday in the city. Dean Campbell, who's from South Yorkshire, contacted Donegal News to highlight the unforgettable kindness shown to him and his friend by the landlady of their B&B following an incident which happened during their stay. You can read more about that nice story. It has a nice conclusion in terms of Mr. Campbell's thankfulness. That's on the front of it inside the Derry News this morning. The Farmers Journal, their lead today, demand for land is expected to go into overdrive as the European Commission looks set to reduce the maximum stocking rate for nitrates derogation farmers from the 1st of January next year. An environmental protection agency report has indicated that most of the country will be subject to a new maximum stocking rate of 220 kilograms of organic NHA, despite protests from across the industry that the move will have no significant effect on water quality. There was another appearance before an Oireachtas committee yesterday of the RTE team. And plenty came out of. We'll speak to someone who was questioning them a little later on in the programme. I don't think there was any major punches landed. I'm kind of at the point now at this stage that nothing surprises me, nothing shocks me, and I found my interest waning as I watched some of it yesterday. I was able to make time to do so. The bottom line is they need a root and branch clear out of the people who make decisions. The executive board, I think they're called, it's a confusing structure that you have. They're on total salaries of 2.1 million per year. They clearly don't know what's going on, and they need to move along and let other people in that can do the job. And also what they do need to get rid of there is this two-tier culture where you've got obviously the elites making an absolute fortune, and then you have regular workers, the vast majority of workers, who are, like everybody else, struggling to pay their mortgages, struggling to pay for cars, perhaps in the job because they love it, but not necessarily getting the money they might be able to get elsewhere. That's the majority of the RTE staff, but it is those at the very top that seem to be living in some different world, not only from the rest of the staff, but from the rest of the country as well. That's kind of, and I picked this part of the story out, I'm not too... The Toy Story, the musical thing, I mean, it's all over the papers today. Look, at part of their remit is to try and diversify. Their income from sales is dropping all the time, from adverts. They have a big machine there. I don't really see a problem with trying to organise a show. There was quite a bit they did wrong with it, but I mean, you can't stifle creativity either or discourage it, can you? I mean, it was crazy what went on and how it went on, but is that a scandal? I don't know if they'd have pulled in 5 million off their 2 million investment, it would be plus 3 million. Clearly it wasn't, and some mistakes were made. But I think stuff like this is more indicative of what the problem is that was a bad decision. Was it corrupt or was it... I don't know. Well, no, it would be my feeling in terms of Toy Show the musical. I think it's ridiculous that they're funding that kind of stuff, but they are charged with that. That is their remit, to try and diversify the income. But anyway, this is the more sort of the reality of the situation if you're within RTE, and you can't really speak out either. A senior RTE reporter was forced to do live on-air interviews from cafe toilets in London. Well, I don't know if she was doing interviews. I think she was recording the voiceovers rather than interviews. But anyway, a senior RTE reporter was forced to do live on-air interviews from CAF toilets in London at the same time as the broadcaster was paying thousands of euro a year for membership of a private members club there. The revelation came after another day of shocking statements from RTE bosses who are now split over the management of the organisation. RTE's chair wrote to Interim Director General Adrian Lynch hours before an Oireachtas committee hearing, outlining her inability to express confidence in the executive board. She's the head of the board, which is a different group of individuals. Well, late on Tuesday night, she privately warned of the board's deep unhappiness with the people responsible for the day-to-day running of the station. So while obviously those involved in sales were able to enjoy lavish lifestyles, days out, access to different types of things, the regular workers were struggling. Radio stations were being shut down, camera equipment was faulty, people who were looking to report from the regions weren't able to get camera crews, but at the same time executive staff members and their partners were able to wine and dine at rugby events. and what have you. So that's that. Right, okay, the Irish Times this morning tells us that all maternity hospitals are expected to be able to provide abortion services by early next year. Minister for Health Stephen Donnelly has said. Mr Donnelly said it had to be ensured such services are available around the country. The minister was speaking in the Dáil yesterday as the Health Termination of Pregnancy Services Safe Access Zones Bill 2023 was being debated at second stage. The proposed legislation would prohibit anti-abortion protests within 100 metres of any facility that could be providing access to terminations. What do you think about that decision? I mean, there are some that are fighting for the right to protest outside places where such services are provided. I'm not really quite sure what that achieves when someone has made a decision that they believe to be a healthcare decision. 100 metres is not terribly far away either, but obviously this has become a tipping point in terms of conversation. Well, Mr Donnelly said it was his intention that by early 2024, all 19 maternity hospitals would provide abortion services. Now, I don't believe those services are currently available at Letterkenny University Hospital. I'm open to correction on that, but I don't believe they are. The minister is saying that they should be available there by January the 1st of next year. A horrendous story and a horrendous experience for the victim of this awful crime. This is in the Irish Daily Mail. A man has been jailed for a minimum of 18 years for murdering his wife by setting her alight in a car after throwing petrol over her. Thomas Rainey, 61, of Quarry Road in Knocklochtrim, County Derry, had pleaded guilty to the murder of his wife, Katrina Rainey, 53, in October 2021. Judge John O'Hara delivered the sentence yesterday at Belfast Crown Court and said that given the horror of what he did to his wife, it was the least he deserved. Now, he's 61, 18, 69, 79. So some might feel that's too lenient. I mean, it is... I don't think it's any problem commenting on it, but to put someone who was much younger, obviously, in their early 50s, with much of their life ahead of them, to pour petrol over them, to set them alight, the horror of that experience for the person who eventually passed away, 18 years to me seems light. Now, I think the judge made a comment that given the person's age, it is effectively, it's effectively not a life sentence. They didn't say that, but anyway, I just don't think it sends a very strong message. I don't really care what age the defendant is. I don't think that really matters. I think if you do this type of thing, just 18 years just doesn't seem right to me. The incident occurred at the family home where Ms. Rainey was leaving for work and her husband opened her car door, covered her with petrol and set her on fire. A mother of 6, Ms. Rainey, was still alive and being attended to by her children, who were covering her with wet towels when emergency services arrived. Ms. Rainey was able to relay details of the attack to emergency services, some of which was captured on police body cam. Again, it is horrific, not only for that lady, but for her family that had to go through that. And regardless of the ins and outs of the defendant, what kind of a message does that send, I wonder? Okay, single vapes to go up in smoke. A ban on single-use vapes is needed to help reduce damage to the environment, a TD has claimed. This is in The Sun. Recent research has found that 1 in 10, or 500,000 Irish adults now claim to use e-cigarettes, while use among children is at an all-time high. Disposable vapes were also included as a litter type for the first time in Irish Business Against Litter's latest nationwide survey, having been found at over 6% of the testing sites. A quickie really for you. Do you think single-use vapes, even if you use them perhaps, should be banned? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. The Mirror, more than 1,700 people have been driving with only a learner permit for the last 30 years. Now, I did know two people, and I can say it because sadly they're no longer here, that drove perpetually on learner permits. Now, this was really before it became, how certain things were more acceptable and then there was a big crackdown. But it doesn't surprise me that 1,700 people are battering away on a provisional licence for 3 decades. In total, there are currently 301,000 with learner permits to drive cars. You're not allowed to apply for a third or subsequent one unless you have taken and failed a driving test in the previous 2 years or have made an application for the exam. Now, there is a problem because there are people who apply for a driving test, and it's so hard to get a driving test at the moment. And I feel so much, and I know about this myself, you know, young people working hard, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, doesn't matter what age they are actually, really, whenever they come to driving. And they're applying for their test and they're waiting for months and months and months on end, routinely checking their emails every day to say, is today the day I'm going to be invited for my test? And then you have a situation, and I've raised this before in the past, whereby you can apply for a driving exam. Say you want to just stay in a provisional license, or you just want to hold on to it as a form of ID, or you know, you might just choose to drive on it even though it's illegal. But if you apply for a test and then don't turn up, that qualifies you for an extension of your learner permit. Now, I don't think that should be the case. I think you should have to sit the exam before you get that extension. Now, if there's 301,000 people with learner permits, how many of those are just applying for tests and never going to take them to retain that license? I just think you should have to at least sit the test because it should free up some spaces, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 spaces for young people who need their cars, and not just young people, to get to work and live their lives. It's terrible, really. Over 11,700 people have been driving with one for at least 20 years, with 1,701, as I mentioned, for over 30 years. And finally, 202 drivers that had a learner permit for at least 36 years. Are you one of them? Let us know why. Just, you know, you don't have to give your name or anything. I'm not judging anyone. I will judge people in that I do think, it's not judging, but I do think you should have to sit the test to extend to continue to hold a provisional license. And it's mostly, I wouldn't really feel it as much if everyone was able to get a test in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, so if you're looking, this is finally in the star, if you're looking to get out of paying your TV licence, some people might Google, well, how do I avoid paying my TV licence? Well, who come out on top, would you believe? It's Cavan. They've topped the list of counties in Ireland where people search for ways to avoid paying their TV licence. Amid the ongoing RTE payment scandal, there has been much debate about the national broadcasters spending and where the money from your TV licence fee actually goes. Well, the TV licence is required by law for anyone who owns a television in their home and costs €160 a year. If you don't pay it, it can land you in court with a fine of up to £1,000. However, some households may be exempt. There are certain conditions to fulfil that legally allow you to skip out of paying the TV licence fee, such as qualifying for the household benefits package. Well, new data gathered from Google searches shows that Cavan is the county that searched the most for information on how to avoid paying the TV licence. The second highest was Westmeath, followed by Dublin in third, and then Limerick, Kilkenny and Kildare. We're not in that list, and I just wonder, is it the case that we don't have to Google it? Because maybe a lot of you out there don't pay it anyway. You've already figured it out. Maybe that's why we're not in the top 5 or 6. All right, we're going to be speaking to a member of the Oireachtas Media Committee on the proceedings yesterday, where another group of RTE heads were in answering questions. We'll get their assessment of what went down after we take this break. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The one you've been waiting for. The McElhinney's summer sale is now on, with up to 40% off across almost all departments and massive savings across your favourite brands. Don't miss out on amazing offers. Shop in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet or online at mcelhinney's.com.
Do you live in an older home? Your house might have lead pipes, which may result in lead in your drinking water. It's important to replace them for you and your family's health. Grants of up to €5,000 are now available to help cover the cost of replacement. Apply for the Domestic Lead Remediation Grant Scheme today through your local authority. For more information, visit gov.ie/lead pipes. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tile Showroom in Buncrana is your one-stop solution for all your bathroom plumbing and tile needs. We offer a wide range of top-quality plumbing fixtures, tiles and accessories, all at the best possible price. Our experienced plumbing experts will help you choose the right products for your bathroom, renovation, new construction or remodelling project. Visit McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tiles in Buncrana and see why we are the best choice for all your bathroom and plumbing and tile needs.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gweedore. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gweedore, 07495 325 75.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
25 minutes past 9. We say good morning now to Labour Senator Marie Sherlock, who's a member of the Oireachtas Media Committee and was amongst representatives questioning the heads at RTE again yesterday for a third time. Good morning to you, Marie. Thanks for your time again today.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning to all your listeners.
Right. What is your assessment from yesterday? I mean, what we have learned, and there was a lot of spoilers the night before, and I suppose on the morning ahead of the committee meeting, is that there is more information coming out. And unless you seem to ask a direct question that actually hits on a point that they must answer, you're not going to hear about it.
Yeah, and I think that's been the extremely frustrating situation now over the past week, that we've had to ask questions 2 or 3 or even more times to try and get direct answers. I think, to be fair, I think the RT executive were a lot more forthcoming yesterday, but I think Ashuni Rahalik did say, you know, there is more to come. There's more bodies in well, it's an unfortunate phrase, but certainly there's certainly more. You know, there's more information to come out, and I think we, you know, a colleague used the phrase yesterday. We have 2 RTEs now. I think on one side, at a time where you know, during the pandemic. And, you know, hundreds of thousands of people out of work in this country, not quite sure when they would be getting a decent income again. And Ryan Tubridy gets a letter of guarantee, effectively saying he will not have he will not be asked for a pay reduction for the next 5 years. So that was in the middle of 2020. And just 7 months later, RT staff were then asked to take a pay cut. And certainly for the hundreds of RT staff who go in, day out, to, you know, undertake public service broadcasting to the highest standard. I think it's a real kick in the teeth in terms of what we've learned over the past week and a half. I think, you know, Emma O'Kelly, who's chair of the NUJ branch, was talking about Fiona Mitchell, the London correspondent, having to, record in the toilets of cafes in London during Brexit, and yet the commercial side of RTE was spending what we would consider extravagant sums.
The argument was made. The argument was. I beg your pardon, Murray. The argument was made, though, that, you know, they're talking about 180 million euro worth of ad revenue, and whether we like it or not, whining and dining these companies or their agents is part of it. You know, and if they're delivering, you know, tens of millions of euro, and as I say, you know, News Talk or any other radio or TV station may be at the same crack. You know, it's not necessarily is it that's actually happening. It's the fact that then you have the rank and file having to record in toilets.
Yeah, look, I think, and I've spoken to quite a number of, I suppose, media outlets over the past number of weeks to understand more about how the commercial side works. And it is a reality, as we understand, that, like, in order to attract new clients, to retain clients, that whining and dining culture exists. But we have to think, this is RTE we're talking about here. It's the national broadcaster. Yes, it relies on 43%, it relies on commercial revenue for 43% of its overall income, which is a massive amount of a massive reliance or over-reliance on commercial income. But I think most companies would be looking to advertise with RT because they're broadcasting to the biggest audience in the country. So I think the question has to be asked: did RT really have to spend those sort of monies to retain those clients? I think many people would say Geraldine O'Leary, was doing her job, and she was. But I think, but spending those sums, and I think certainly like the trip to the Rugby World Cup in Japan, the extravagances with regards to the parties that were, I suppose, organised. We heard about the flip-flops and the balloons yesterday. Soho, the Soho Club in London. I think there's wining and dining, and then there's bringing it to a whole new level.
Right. So, Marie, like what we have at this point, I think we kind of know everything. I mean, we might get little shocking details like the flip-flops and stuff, but we know that the vast majority of people that work in RTE work well, and many of them are on modest incomes. Then there is another tier of people, the top talent in inverted commas, the people who really are using their jobs in RTE as a platform to make money elsewhere, contractors, okay? And then you have the very, very top earners who are on ridiculous money because apparently the BBC and CNN's just waiting to swoop in and pick them up as talent. And then you have, of course, in charge of that, an executive board on circa 2.1 million between them, only a small group of people that really don't even know how the organisation is being run. And then we've got this funding model, right? So I think we know everything there. All the cards are on the table. Now, Ryan Tubridy will come in next week and we might find out that something or other, but it's not going to fundamentally change, I don't think, the nuts and bolts of where we are. So I'm not saying I want the store to go away or not necessarily, but what I'm saying is now we have to start talking about where do we go, how do we move forward? For the public, I don't think simply changing the executive board matters because in truth, the majority of us didn't know who they were, what they did, or we'll never hear about them again into the future. So we need something to change that we can see because it's our doors that get knocked for the €160. We need to see wages come down. We need to see, this culture, this sort of celebrity culturally thing where, certain companies are all intertwined with certain staff on 2FM and RT and all that kind of stuff. So what do you think needs to be done to get us through this and past it now? Because I think everything's out there now. There'll be a few shocks and what have you, but now we want to know is what happens next. Would you agree with that assessment, by the way? And what is your answer?
Yeah, no, I think you're right to a certain extent. I do think there are questions to be asked to Ryan Tubridy next week, but but I think overall, what we have now is an RT that is in disarray, and we've a deadly serious situation where RT relies on the licence fee to be paid. And I suppose what is really sad about all of this is that there has been calls now for, notwithstanding this crisis, RT needs investment. Particularly because of where broadcasting is at in the 21st century. And so this is where we made this appeal to Minister Martin during the week. We can't on one hand now say we need a review of RTE and pause any discussion about the money that goes into RTE because, we still have a situation where there's, reporters, current affairs still left short. And so I think in the first instance, we have said to Catherine Martin that we need to have assurances that, the staff who are going in there day in, day out to do their jobs are going to be fully supported this year, that they're not going to be left hanging. I think number two, that discussion about the future financing of RT needs to take place. The reality is that, as I said a few minutes ago, RT relies on commercial revenue for about 45% of its overall income. We understand when you look at public broadcasters in other EU member states that the average is less than 20%, somewhere around 18%. And so to me, there's an over-reliance on commercial income, and we need to look at how we actually improve state investment into it. And look, there's no easy answers here. I don't think, should it be increased above the €160? I think that would be a bittersweet pill for anybody to swallow. B, there's collection. Not every household pays it, of course. And so do we need to have a direct subvention from the government? I think all those things need to be thrashed out now, but in a way that we don't kick the can down the road, because that has been done for years. And
I get you, Marie, but I would love people like you to sort of, or to get into this a little bit. Like, say, for instance, the digital output from RTE. I mean, who is consuming it? How many people consume their digital output? And what that is effectively is when a DJ on 2FM or RTE sort of goes past their sell-by date, they don't disappear off into the independent sector. They drift off into this digital landscape. What kind of salaries are these people on versus how many people are consuming this digital content? I mean, I can't even name the stations, but I know we've had Ronan Collins is going off to it. Dave Fanning is heading off to it. There's anyone who used to work for RTE, you know, when their time on air is over, they drift off into this digital landscape that we don't know how many people consume it. As I say, what kind of wages are they on? Again, and I'll say it again, why are we funding 2FM? What is the public service remit of 2FM? Where an awful lot of these
Well, I think, Greg,
people,
can I just say, I think there's a serious issue with regards to broadcasters, and you touched on it earlier, using their programs, particularly in 2FM, to be able to draw attention and market their podcast.
But what is the public service? Exactly. But what is the public service delivery from 2FM or any of the digital channels, for example?
Well, look, I think those discussions need to take place, you know. But look, I think but the other thing is, you know, we've had, you know, there was a time where RT was talking about, you know, significantly downsizing Lyric FM. I know many people across the country mightn't listen to Lyric FM every day, but they certainly switch over to it and you know, at different times and hugely value it. So I think, look, we need to have that conversation in the round. I'm not going to be able to give you an answer here about what needs to be cut, because I don't think that, like, at the end of the day, we need a stronger and better RTE. And I know there are some that have an agenda that want to see a much smaller RTE, but I think what I would say is that, you know, RTE isn't just about current affairs. RTE is massively important for the arts and culture and music in this country, and sport. And we need to think very carefully
but just
about
in
how
terms
we
of sport,
have the national broadcaster supporting all of those.
But
there is
of course, Marie, but in terms of sport, last week, 2 of the quarterfinals of the GAA Football Championship were on pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, I look, I'm opposed to the
the public need to be consulted
system.
Yeah.
Like, to be frank, right? Like, we either take the public service broadcasting remit seriously or we do not. Trying to make money off of it, and I think this is the lesson from the Toy Story. My own sense is that some persons within RT kind of thought this was going to be a Riverdance moment. They'd be able to make a quick buck, go off into the sunset, and ultimately, you know, it failed. But it was a very expensive failure, and part and parcel of any artistic project is the problem. You know, that there's an element of risk, and that has to be accepted. But there was vast sums of money spent. In a very short turnaround. Like, a musical theatre can take normally a number of years to turn around as opposed to less than a year, and to put it in the convention centre, which if any of your listeners have ever been into will know that it's a big cavern as opposed to a theatre. So so certainly I think there are huge questions about how money has been spent. And this comes back to the points that I was making last week. Ultimately, those at the top of RT have not had that collective responsibility. There's a disarray amongst the executive, and unfortunately we need to see very serious reforms in order to reinstill public confidence in the national broadcaster.
Yeah, and very finally, just to run through what's on RTE1 at the moment, coming up very shortly is the Kelly Clarkson Show, then it's Doctors, All Imports, then in the afternoon, Home and Away, Shortland Street, Tastes Like Home, then EastEnders. Then we have Shakespeare and Hathaway Private Investigators, another import, a rerun of some of the Today highlights, and then it's on to EastEnders.
Now, Greg, can I just say now, right, we need to be very careful here. So you and I might necessarily be looking at television during the day, but like when I think of my own parents, or, well, they don't necessarily be looking at television, but there's a lot of elderly people or people maybe that, you know, aren't working or are not out and about who rely on daytime television. And I think they're the experts as to, you know, how good or bad the schedule is during the day. I'm certainly no expert in that.
All right.
Other than children's television,
Well, next time I'll get your parents on then.
That's it. That's it.
All right.
Anyway,
All right,
if,
take care.
if the Donegal accents could understand the Cork accents, I think that'd be the challenge. But anyway, okay.
Have
thanks,
a lovely
Greg.
one. Take care. Senator Marie Sherlock of the Labour Party there, member of the Oireachtas Media Committee. Have you any insight into that? 08660 25,000 003538660 25,000.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Step into summer with Green Shoes. Check out their large selection of summer sandals from favourite brands like Birkenstock, Doc Martens and Echo. Also choose from Heavenly Feet, Una Healy, Imac and many more. Shop LK and one for all vouchers accepted in store. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre and in Fulcara. Or shop online at greenshoes.com.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonher Road, Donegal Town.
Rejuvenate your skincare routine this summer with the Clarins Big Beauty Gift at McElhenny's. Purchase 2 or more Clarins products, 1 to be moisturiser or serum, and receive a choice of 3 free travel size products. Purchase a 3rd Clarins product and receive 2 makeup essentials. Offer available in store at McElhenny's and online at mcelhennys.com until July 16th, while stocks last.
Okay, so whilst one committee room yesterday was occupied by the RTE issue, a much more serious issue, a real life issue that affects people in a much more serious way, certainly in this part of the world, was being raised in another committee room. We're going to hear about that now, as we're joined by Roisin Gallagher, founder of the Redress Focus Group. Thank you for joining us, Roisin.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Right, okay. So defective concrete home owners from the Banking Insurance Redress Focus Group made a presentation to the Oireachtas Finance Committee. So can you give us the an outline of what was discussed?
Well, the Banking and Insurance Focus Group kind of got together over the course of February and March. As you know, we only started the Redress Focus Groups back in January. So it's a very young initiative, and the guys got together in February and March, which between then and now they've managed to meet with the major or the senior management of the major banks. Mm-hmm. So Bank of Ireland, Permanent TSB, AIB. They met with the Banking Federation of Ireland. And then yesterday, and they met with the Minister of Finance last week or the week before. And yesterday was the joint committee meeting at the Oireachtas. So that was with the Finance Department, Public Expenditure and Taoiseach. So yesterday they kind of talked about where the government could come in, and where would they play their part in getting the banks, dealing with the banks, working together and trying to come up with solutions for homeowners, which are basically trying to deal with the shortfalls of the enhanced scheme.
And what was some of the most important points made at that and the response to them, Roisin?
Well, it was, as we heard, they were excellent. They did so well at it, trying to bring up the points of 0% finance, bridging loans, where people that have to come up with finance themselves while their build is ongoing, that the banks would step in there and pay for that, fund that, essentially at 0% interest. They're also talking about the fact that, people who wouldn't normally fall under, who wouldn't meet normal lending criteria, that they would be accommodated as well. So OAPs, people that are unemployed, that kind of thing.
And I suppose we know the points up here because we discuss it all the time. I suppose it's really how these concerns were responded to and if they were taken on board or not.
Previously to this?
Yeah, no, during the process yesterday. What might come from this? Was there anything said to the likes of Patrick Sharkey, Sean McCabe, Donna McDade, Sarah Shovlin that could give us any hope for the future? Or is this really just about airing the concerns and getting them on the record?
Well, everything is on the record, as you say, and as we heard from the representatives there yesterday, they are committed. They have committed to working with the focus group and getting the central bank to the table as well to figure out bespoke products that will help this very different and unique situation. So I think they are very positive of the outcome. I mean, nothing is set in steel, and nobody wants to give any promises of anything happening that hasn't happened yet. But everything is looking optimistic, and I think the timing was very good after the enhanced scheme coming out being pretty negative. People needed a bit of hope, and I think if they watch back that replay, I think they will find that hope within that.
Yeah, because I'm slightly disadvantaged. I didn't know it was on yesterday, but it is available, and we'll link it. It is available for anyone to watch back, and I look forward to sort of, going through that yesterday. As I say, I didn't know it was coming up. I
might be a bit of a nerd on this because I watched it twice then, but I have to mention that Grant Marsh has done an amazing job. He broke down this and I think it's almost 2.5 hours long. He broke it up into about 126 clips, and he described what each clip is and pointed out which clip, who is speaking in each clip. So it's very user friendly. That link is now all over Facebook and Twitter.
It is amazing. It is amazing that he turned that around as quickly. That it's available there now.
I know that Grant worked really hard last night on that, and he is backstory.ie on Facebook and Twitter. So he really deserves recognition. He's doing that all voluntary to document the crisis for us. Now, Grant is from Cork, so we have to really be appreciative for all the work that he does. So what I'm trying to say about the video is, although we will get the people from the banking group on to you and they'll be able to give you more details of the financial aspects of this, I do think it's really important for absolutely every homeowner, everybody that thinks they might be affected, even if you're not affected and you live in this area, anybody who's a stakeholder, anybody who's helping people through this crisis, any volunteers, to watch that video from yesterday. Do watch it. It's so educational. It's so informative. They talk about lots of different situations, and also Don McDade gave a very good explainer, a breakdown of her situation in terms of the finances and the shortfalls. So it's very informative. I would really recommend everybody to watch it.
Yeah, backstory.ie is, but you can find it on YouTube. Just if you search Finance, Banking, Redress Focus Group, it just pops up straight away. I mean, we saw yesterday in the other committee room, we saw senators, TDs clamouring to get questions in and to get their sound bites as it relates to, of all different political backgrounds, of course, on the RTE issue. Was there the same urgency for, our local representatives, I suppose, to be present or have a say in the committee meeting yesterday?
No, we had Joe McHugh in there yesterday in the committee meeting. He spoke near the end of it. We had no interaction at all. The bank and insurance focus group representatives that were there, Donna, Sarah, Patrick and Sean, nobody came up and talked to them or met them or spoke to them. But Mr. McConlogue was next door. He was in the building. But he didn't want to speak to them, or he didn't want to acknowledge them or welcome them to the Dáil. So it's very interesting. I find it extremely confusing. Why is there such a circus around the RT debacle? But when we're talking about a 2.8, I think it is. Some people are saying 2.2. I think it's 2.8 billion scheme. Why have we been completely ignored? We haven't been picked up by RTE or any of the major media, national media outlets. I don't understand it. People's priorities seem to be in different places.
Yeah, but if the truth be told, even if you look through the government social media and to a lesser extent the opposition social media, there's not much talk about it there either. So it's not really capturing the imagination of the media as such, but it doesn't actually seem to be catching the imagination of those that announced it.
No, not even them. And I mean, for not to be able to come on to your show, our local radio, the main radio station, the main radio show in our country, and for Charlie McConlogue to send that text message to you and make this a personal thing to you as well, Greg. I really just find it all very bizarre. And
well, I'm not. Listen, it's not about me. It's about people.
So he'll talk to Donald, but he won't talk to you, Greg. I think he's Mickey.
Yeah, I know, but it's really about people's houses and I've spoken to so many people through this in tears, struggling. I don't care about my feelings, and I appreciate your comments. Don't get me wrong, Roisin, but I want to speak. I want to speak to these people to try and we all could work together to come up with a solution to this. This is the biggest crisis ever in Donegal. I don't think there's anything that can match it. We don't even know where it's going yet. People have taken their lives over this issue. Relationships have been broken up. Children are going to be scarred by this for the rest of their lives. If Minister McConlogue, he can do whatever he likes as it relates to me personally. I don't care, because the issue here is the people and what they're going through, and that is what's horrendous. And I look forward to speaking in more detail. And listen, fair play for the establishment of these focus groups. I think it's been really a critical and pivotal part of this conversation. And I look forward to speaking to some of those when they're available. They weren't available this morning, just to tease it out a little bit more. But Roisin, for the very point you mentioned as it relates to the coverage of the RTE story, I wanted to invite you on so that we recognise this can happen, direct people to this important video, and as I say, we'll tease out these issues more down the line. Is that all right, Roisin?
Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you. And thanks to everybody for the support of the redress focus groups as well. Being such a young initiative, it's been amazing to see. It's got such potential, and I want people to feel hopeful and come forward and feel like they can be part of the redress focus groups so they can take power in their own situations. And this is what happens when we make change happen together. You know, we come together and we work together, and things can actually happen. So that's the message, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we have to sort of take control of this of ourselves, don't we? We can't necessarily rely on the elites, let me put it like that, to do it. All right, listen, thank you again. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for giving us an outline of that. And thanks for directing us in the backstory.ie. I think it reduces it into bite-size, contextualised clips, which I think is amazing that it was turned around so quickly. All right, have a lovely day, Roisin. Take care of yourself.
You too, Greg.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Roisin Gallagher, founder of the Redress Focus Group. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000, or call us on 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
Raymond Sweeney here to let you know about some great value laptops we now have in stock, like the super affordable Ventura Europa, powered by an Intel Celeron processor, ideal for studying, e-learning and keeping up to date with the latest news for just $249. Also the super fast Avita Pura laptop with a Ryzen 5 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage for only $399. Check out these and other great value laptops now at Ben Sweeney Euronics in Letterkenny and Dunlow.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, Doug, we have an opportunity now to read some of your comments. A caller says people should have the choice to subscribe to RTE if they want it. I don't pay a TV licence. I don't want to watch RTE or listen to their propaganda. Your list of TV programmes on today just confirmed to me that I'm missing nothing, really. I think the problem is though, if it became a subscription-only service, it couldn't survive. I think there has to be a compulsion there. And you do see that with state broadcast media right around the place, that there has to be a compulsion to pay for it because they can't compete with Amazon, Netflix, Disney, so on and so forth. Greg, RTE HQ should be moved out of D4 to say Athlone. The top 10 presenters should also be dropped. There's plenty of young talent out there. And some of the top presenters are great. It's just, I mean, in this day and age when we have so many people who can't afford to feed themselves, when you get people being paid 550,000 odd euro for doing an hour a day, it's just not fair. I don't think anyone, I don't like the presenters are, it's not mine necessarily. I listen to some of them, don't listen to others. That's fine. That's the way radio works. Some people listen to this show, others don't, and so on and so forth. But it's just it's this gap between these people and the rest of society. Quick question, can you ask where or who can give a BCA certificate? I can't find an engineer or architect. The ones I talk to say they have to update accreditation, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So anyone out there know where one could get a BCA certificate? Hi, Greg. Why would anyone pay their TV licence after all the scandal coming out? I won't be paying mine. They can buy their own flip-flops, or at least buy cheaper flip-flops. I don't know where they're getting the flip-flops, but €25 for a pair of flip-flops seems quite excessive. Good morning, Greg. Can you please ask if someone could cut the hedges on the Dromahal Road? This is a very narrow road and is extremely dangerous at the moment, with hedges almost out onto the road. It's also the same road to Dromahal Chapel. I don't cut hedges as such. I know you're not asking me to do it, but in terms of, I'm not sure, is it allowed at the moment? Can you cut hedges at the moment? I think in any case, regardless of the time of the year, if it's a dangerous situation like a junction or a road or something, I do believe that the council can actually still cut hedges if it's in the interest of road safety. A caller says the whole RTE situation is a joke. We could watch Prince Charles's coronation, no bother, but not the quarterfinals of our national sport, which is an interesting and factual statement. Would this have come out if Ryan did not step down? Well, did he step down because this was coming out? You know what I mean? If you look at the timelines, he knew what was coming. Right, okay. Let us take a break. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after we take a break, as I mentioned, for the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
It's the home of the vegan butchers, the artisan bakers, the freestyle lyricists, and the trouser suit striders. It's the urban jungle, where the everyday meets the latest wave. And you could see it all from your Seat SUV. From the sharp lines and smart style of the Arona to the bold and beautiful Ateca. And if size is your thing, the Tarraco comes as a 7-seater. See what's in store at seat.ie for our latest offers. And visit DMG Motors, Clough Road, Donegal Town. Because your new Seat is just waiting to see what's next.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
The world awaits you. Make that dream your next adventure. Cruise the Caribbean. Sail from Crete to Corsica. Soak in Santorini sunsets. Dine on the shores of the Indian Ocean. Stroll through cobbled streets for hidden gems, or bring the little ones to a magical wonderland. Trust the award-winning Atlantic Travel to guide your next adventure. Step through our doorway to the world. Atlantic Travel, Letterkenny.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
Stocking rules set to drive up land prices nationwide. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Demand for land to surge as EU poised to impose new environmental rules. New law gives Board B more access to your farm medicine data. Minister Raymond Ryan opened a suckler cow exit scheme. Lamb prices slashed by 60 cents per kilo as beef prices continue to fall. Plus, in Irish Country Living, find out if you're paying too much for health insurance.
All inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Banking and Insurance Focus Group has briefed the Oireachtas Finance Committee on issues pertaining to financial issues in the ongoing defective blocks crisis. Among the issues raised was the fact that many people who are facing rebills as a result of defective blocks do not qualify for mortgages or loans and are finding themselves in difficulty. Roisin Gallagher is founder of the Redress Focus Groups, and she spoke to Greg on this morning's 9 till noon show.
The Banking and Insurance Focus Group kind of got together over the course of February and March. As you know, we only started the Redress Focus Groups back in January. Between then and now, we've managed to meet with the senior management of the major bank. They met with the Banking Federation of Ireland, and then yesterday, and they met with the Minister of Finance last week or the week before. And yesterday was the joint committee meeting at the Oireachtas, so that was with the Finance Department, Public Expenditure and Taoiseach.
The incoming Director General of RTE will meet with the Media Minister later. It was due to take place tomorrow, but was brought forward following further revelations of lavish spending from a series of barter accounts. Yesterday, the Oireachtas Media Committee heard of a €2.2 million loss for Toy Show the Musical, a 5-year car loan for a staff member, and a spend of €5,000 on flip-flops for a summer party. Former Minister and author Shane Ross says more questions need to be asked about the RTE board, as well as the executive.
Boards are there to challenge executives. That's what the point of the board is for. And the board in this case, and not just in the case of remuneration, but it's one, quite patently, obviously, was not challenging the executive because they didn't seem to know what was going on. This has been going on for years and years and years. But the board doesn't seem to have challenged them on any of the issues which have emerged.
Donegal County Council is being told that while Uisce Éireann works due to take place in Uras Clonmany will resolve a number of issues in the area, they will not address the key problem faced by several residents, particularly those living on higher ground. Councillor Rena Donaghy says the laying of 800 metres of new pipe will help, but a reservoir will be needed to ensure a uniform and reliable supply for all residents, adding that a reservoir had been proposed several years ago when water was still under council control. At her behest, the council is to contact Uisce Éireann asking for a reservoir to be put back on the agenda.
Ultimately, what we do need is a reservoir in Oireach so that people that are in the higher areas will be accommodated. As you go into Oireach and as you start climbing and get higher up, those people at the end They don't get water for hours after everybody else. And I have proposed that a strongly worded letter be sent to Irish Water to look at the bigger picture. As well as the new pipeline, we do need a reservoir.
The group representing victims of abuse in the Defence Forces has rejected the terms of reference for an inquiry into what's been described as a culture of bullying and abuse. Women of Honour is criticising what they say is Tánaiste Micheál Martin's decision to ram through flawed terms of reference, which they will be opposing when they meet him later today. Retired Army Captain Diane Byrne says the terms of reference as proposed by the government just don't go far enough.
If you don't have the broadest terms of reference, it automatically excludes huge chunks of people, many victims whose lives were destroyed by, in the more subtler ways, but in very, very difficult circumstances that, just don't fit into a nice little box that's being put forward in the terms of reference by the state.
A leading carers charity is calling for the means test for the carers allowance to be abolished. In their pre-budget submission, Family Carers Ireland are also calling for an overhaul of the allowance. They want the weekly rate to increase to €325 per week. That would be up from €236. Catherine Cox is Head of Communications and Policy at Family Carers Ireland. She says health supports, particularly in terms of respite, need to be improved.
We do not have a figure of how many respite beds or places there are in Ireland at the moment. So we're calling on government to, first of all, and the health service, to conduct an audit about how many beds we have for respite in this country. And then also that will identify where the gaps are.
Weather forecast and Met Éireann tell us a freshening southerly wind will bring rain and drizzle right through the area this morning. That'll become heavy and widespread in the afternoon, with some spot flooding possible. Top temperatures 15 or 16 degrees Celsius as southerly winds become fresh to strong. Rather windy tonight with rain, heavy in places, leading to possible spot flooding once again. Mild and humid with lowest temperatures of 12 or 13 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 6th of July. The death has taken place of Tom Clark, formerly of St Columkill Village, Boharna, Clonmany and Chorley, England. His remains will repose at the St Columkill Village Oratory from 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock this evening. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to St Columkill Village and Buncrana Nursing Unit, care of any family member or Comiskey Funeral Directors. The funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of John McElhill, 17 Spearholm Road, Killeter, Castlederg, reposing at the family home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Ahiarn, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Marie Curie Cancer Care, care of any family member. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. And the death has taken place of Liam Matthew Kelly, Dublin, New Hampshire, USA, formerly of 82 Lower Main Street, Letterkenny. Visitation will take place tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 at Divine Mercy Parish, 12 Church Street, Peterborough, New Hampshire. Massive Christian burial will be celebrated at 11 o'clock, with a private burial to take place at a later time. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the John J. Burns Library at Boston College or the Missionary Society of St. Columban. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Great news. That was our agent on the phone.
And?
We're booked for a tour of the Arctic Circle.
Jim, we're comedians, not penguins.
Actually, they're in the Antarctic.
And what about the lotto? What if our favourite numbers come up when we're off telling knock-knock jokes to polar bears?
That's actually funny.
You're funny.
Now you can schedule your favourite Lotto and Euromillions numbers up to 12 months in advance and pay as you play. Download the National Lottery app to schedule your play. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Okie doke, good morning to you once again, or good morning for the first time if you've just tuned in. It is your 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio on this 6th of July 2023. Another example of abuse of taxpayers' money to satisfy ego, believes this listener. Who is responsible? Who allocated the money and whose money was it? What was the impact in the spending of this money on other local programmes and staff? What RTE committee signed off on this? Were the RTE board consulted? Why would anyone spend money on such a bird-brained idea? And who allocated and paid for the massive promotion and advertising budget? That's in relation to Toy Story the musical. Hi, RTE has to pay. This was all taxpayers' money. 8 million they received from the Office of Communications when Dennis Naughton was minister, and they just spent on everything and anyone. No sense of responsibility. That comes in from Nolene. Minister Donnelly, abortion is not healthcare. Strange how there's no money to provide service to real humans, but no problem providing instant money to kill the innocent without a voice. Now, some people believe it to be healthcare, others clearly not. This listener amongst them. Has the Minister of Housing agreed to come on the show to explain the enhanced scheme? Normally tripping over themselves to spin these days. He obviously doesn't think it's good enough. People here should not forget McConaughey's refusal. He doesn't appear to know the difference between being allowed to mislead people uninterrupted and fair questioning. That comes in from Martin. And the simple question is that, you know, it's stated publicly that this is a 100% redress scheme. I saw the press release. And the simple question would be, could you explain how it's a 100% redress scheme? You know, who can qualify for this? You know, that's a question that no one wants to try and answer, especially if you're announcing the scheme or backing it, because it would be a very difficult one to answer. There was assurances on this programme through, in fairness, a tough line of questioning, if the truth be told, that there would be no sliding scale. Well, there is the sliding scale. It was said on this programme, following a tough line of questioning, that that foundations would be included. The clip available if you wish. Foundations were not included. So I can understand why people might not want to be questioned on this issue. But that being said, I and other people have a responsibility, I think. Mine's not, you know, mandated as such. It's just one I feel I have, is to try and get answers to questions for people and those that it affects their real lives. One lady tweeted something, I can't remember because the notifications on Twitter have been really quite busy of late, but it was it was 5 or 6 or 7 words. I wish I could find it here now, but it was I don't want to misquote it. Oh, there's so much stuff here. But it was a person who tweeted me about their situation. They have a child with special needs, I believe, and they said simply that they can't access the scheme. But it wasn't simple. It's not that. I can't get to it. I can't find it here. I will dig it out and read it to you. But that's the reality of it. It doesn't matter what I think or what other people think. It's about whether or not people who've been waiting for this to give them some hope of a future, to give them some hope of leaving something to their children that's of any worth, and that being taken away. As I say, it's just been crazy the last couple of days on social media, so I can't find that particular message from a lady. But anyway, that's the important part of all of this, in my view. Back to the RTE situation. A caller believes it is fraud. If a guy steals a loaf of bread from a shop, it's jail for them. They're stealing our money, yes, covered up by what Matty McGrath was saying yesterday. He was saying the Gardaí should be involved. Regards Brendan, but they got their own legal advice, which is another really quite remarkable thing. RTE got their own legal advice, and they were told by their own legal advice that there was no fraud. Right, okay. There is a lot of heartache in my family, but we spoke yesterday, and this is why it's really useful in terms of a podcast or the video podcast. And I want to say a very good morning, by the way, just as a reminder you to Siobhan, Christina, Charlie, Annie, Paul, Rosemary, amongst the many people who are watching the show on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. YouTube, it's Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch on your smart TV. You can watch on your Fire Stick, your phone, tablet, laptop. But also you can look back at programmes that we've already broadcast. And we had two people on the programme yesterday, Eleanor and Elaine, from an organisation called Cry. We spoke to a mother who's 6 foot strong, healthy, 38-year-old son. She came in and he was watching TV. She came in and found him dead. And she says, as she tried to do CPR, it was clear that she was working on her son who had passed away. Incredibly sad. But she engaged with the services of Cry. And it's worth watching it back again, especially if you maybe have been bereaved and you're looking for people to talk to or people that might understand. I hope that piece might be of benefit to you. This caller says, there was a lot of heartache in my family. I resonated with the lady from Cry. I've lost grandchildren and my wife. But Greg, good news. My grandson Daniel passed his driving test today and I'm so proud of him. Life is incredibly difficult at times, but it's so important to celebrate the good times too. Thank you for the show yesterday morning from Granda Seamus in Strannola. And well done to you, Granda. And clearly a really good Granda. You've been through it, but you recognise the fantastic achievement from your grandson Daniel, and you can see the hope in that. And we're thinking on to you, Seamus, as well. My son has dyspraxia with concerns with ADHD. He also has dyslexia. The doctor made a referral to CAMHS. The referral had to go in 5 times because they kept sending it back saying it wasn't filled in right. Then I got a letter back saying they need a report before they can move forward. That report will not be finalised until August. All our concerns, even with the GP writing to them, are being ignored. This appointment with CAMHS is only the beginning of trying to get a referral. I thought the HSE was there to help us, not frustrate us more. I'm sorry, we'll see if we can make any inquiries to assist there. Hi, Greg. Can we have a discussion about if All Ireland is put to the people for a vote, what happens to the National Health Service? At present, we have free hospital services, free doctors, free dental, free fire service, free ambulance, free prescriptions, free mental health services, etc. Who will pay for these things if an All Ireland becomes a reality? I'm from the north, living in the south, and in my opinion, an All Ireland is never going to happen, as when the public realise the implications of an All Ireland and the loss of the National Health Service alone will be a deal breaker. When you explain that to see a doctor, €60, to see a dentist, €60, a fire service call out, €120, what will happen to the staff in these institutions? If an All Ireland came to be, when realisation of this is happening to people in the north, common sense dictates a no vote will happen. That comes in from Joe in Donegal. I mean, if you're listening in to the show in Northern Ireland, is that something you consider? Because the last time I was speaking to, I believe it was Pierce Doherty, it was ahead of some conferences that they were having around the country to discuss the future of Ireland. What would a united Ireland look like? Like, when it comes down to the vote, I don't really think it is necessarily going to be people's aspiration for a 32 county or not, or whether it be green or orange, as as some people would term it. It is going to be down to the realities. Like, what does the healthcare look like? What would it mean in terms of our healthcare here? What role would Altnagelvin have? What role would Letterkenny University Hospital have? I mean, in reality, I think the majority of people across the country, especially south of I don't know what line it might be, Monaghan-Sligo line, that's where the debate and the conversation might be had, rather than the politics or nationalism versus unionism. So I think to some extent Joe's really right there. I think, we haven't really talked about, I've tried to have the conversation about what might the real conversation be ahead of any vote on a united Ireland. What do you think? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and text. If you're from the north and have an insight from that perspective, of course, 0035386 60 25,000. That being said, I think most times, isn't it, you store the numbers in WhatsApp, it has the prefix on it there anyway. So, but we want all of your views. Now, today is Thursday, which means it is jackpot day on the bingo. So hopefully one of you is going to collect this huge pot of cash. Just to remind you, we play the bingo every day here in Highland Radio, Mondays to Fridays. There are hundreds of euro in cash prizes won every day. We don't blow our own trumpet in relation to that all the time, but perhaps we should, in that there are people collecting hundreds of euro every single week, and then that jackpot is in play. And all the while, you are one of the key contributors to the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, because in playing, you contribute to that amazing charity. And we've heard of them on the show in the past, the importance that your donation to them through having a bit of fun and maybe winning a bit of money might have. Now, it's no club. You can play anytime, dip in and out, play all the time. It's up to you. If you've never played before, go into your shop. I think the books for next week are already available in the shops. Pick up your book and you can play €1 a day all next week. And as I say, support National Council for the Blind of Ireland, and maybe, why not, it could be you to win one of our big cash prizes on the daily, which rolls over. If it's not won, it's rolled over to the next day, and so on and so forth. Or indeed that big jackpot, which is potentially up for grabs today. Here's the numbers after a quick sting.
The county's number one talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, July 6th, Jackpot Day. Today's jackpot is €18,600. Today's jackpot number is 26. You're playing on a pink coloured sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 27. The numbers are 55, 52, 12, the number 9, the number 8, 28, 16, 37, 49 and 89. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
It's the official opening of the Lennon Festival Ramelton tonight, Thursday, with pre-opening music from We Love Sax at 7, followed by marching bands and official opening by ICMA Hall of Fame winner Margot O'Donnell. For all details on this year's events and big band nights, make sure to visit Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Now, following inquiries from the leader of Ain 2, Deputy Paddy Tobin, we've learned that over 1,700 people have been have been on a learner permit for over 30 years. Now, just to remind you again, you're not allowed to apply for a third or subsequent learner permit unless you've taken and failed a driving test in the previous 2 years, or more importantly, the thing, as I mentioned, I think needs addressed, you've made an application for the exam. Now, we know the huge pressure in terms of long waits for primarily, I think, young drivers, but not exclusively. Good morning to you, Deputy. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today.
Good morning, Greg. How are you doing?
Good. So what was your motivation for seeking out these figures then, and what's your takeaway from them?
Yeah, and I also want to give credit to Owen Murphy from the Irish Mirror as well for the work that he's done on this too. But I suppose, first of all, the road safety is a very, very important issue. And the government have created a lot of new laws and a lot of changes in recent times around road safety. We've made the point a number of times that if the government just implemented the laws as they were and policed them properly, it would make road safety better. So the learner permit does what it says in the tin. It's for use for people to learn how to drive. And, it's only a short-term permit. And we find it incredible that this government has allowed this situation to arise, where right now 11,700 people have been driving on a learner permit for 20 years. which is an exceptional figure. So that shows you that those learner permits are not being used to learn. They're being used to do long-term driving. So, according to the government's own statistics, a person is a safer driver when they've passed the test, i.e. the government is allowing a situation persist whereby we have drivers that are not as safe driving for years and years and years. And, one of the real issues that has frustrated me in my time in political activism is just the incompetency of the administration in Ireland, that level of maladministration, that lack of accountability that seeps through so much of Irish government and councils, etc. And this is another example of it. So we have, this crazy situation where the government is basically allowing for nearly 12,000 people to drive for 2 decades without a full driver's license. And, it's similar to what's happening in other sectors, such as you have people waiting for NCT tests for, months and months. You have hospital bills, surging through their budgets and their timescales for months, for years and years. We've even a person waiting 14 years at the moment for their first application for asylum into this country to be processed. And that's an incredible thing, and it's wrong. So we need to get to grips with the maladministration in this country and fix it.
But I mean, road traffic laws are a basket case anyway. I mean, if you challenge them, you get off. That seems to be the case. If you know, because the amount of people that successfully challenge the certain elements of the road traffic laws, they almost routinely get off with. The figures are absolutely astronomical. But in relation to this, one of the simple solutions would be that you have to sit your test. Now, it wouldn't be. It doesn't solve all of it, because we don't know if people are using it for ID purposes or what have you. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to having a full license. But like, if everyone listening probably has someone in their family or connected to them waiting for a driving test. We've got loads of people with no intention of ever sitting their driving test. So at the very least, you can only get another permit if you sit your exam and fail. Yeah, that's a simple thing. I mean, that wouldn't take too much legislation.
No, it's a very simple fix. And what's obviously happening is people are being allowed to apply for a driving test, and then when the driving test comes up, they're entitled to cancel that, but they still keep their permit license, the learner permit license. And, they can keep going pretty much every 2 years in that scenario. And in many cases, if they postpone the driving test in time, they'll actually get their money back as well. So there may be very little cost to a person other than the renewal of the permit on a regular basis.
Because I spoke to the RSA not quite some time ago. The head of the RSA then, I believe she's off now representing insurance companies. But I was interviewing the head of the RSA at that time, and they says, well, this is not, it's not our fault. People aren't turning up for their tests. And we kind of had a little tete-a-tete over that one, if the truth be told. But of course, if you have a system whereby people can perpetually have a learner's permit because they can book a test and not turn up, I mean, that's, don't always blame us. The system's at fault here.
But yeah, it's common sense, Greg. It's just common sense that if you see people abusing this so obviously, the very simple thing to do is to make sure that a person can't postpone their exam over and over again. And it's just as, you may get 3 strikes and you're out. So if you postpone your application 3 times, you're out. But again, there's an instinct in this country where this maladministration is allowed to continue. And the reason why it's allowed to continue is because there is no accountability. And accountability is the best tool to make sure something doesn't happen. Because, if there's no cost to you or I or to anybody else, there's no penalty for doing something wrong, well then there's no change in behaviour.
How do you fix that, though? Because, any slight changes to road traffic legislation or licensing laws, they're delayed in either the Dáil or the Shannon. There's huge lobby groups seemingly that oppose a lot of changes like this. Some would say it doesn't matter really who you elect because, you know what I mean, they can't work with this broken permanent government. So it's great. We could appoint you as the Minister for Observation, perhaps, because you're telling us what we know. What the public want to know is what changes this? What changes this culture of of a lack of accountability, of broken systems. Like, we were speaking to someone earlier on who's trying to get a young person into the CAM services, and they're finding the HSEs actually frustrating them rather than assisting them. And it all ties into the same thing. So what actually can be done to make change?
A very, very simple thing would be when people do wrong that they lose their jobs. So this whole RTE crack that everybody's watching at the moment is we're seeing where, people have, been living on serious largesse in terms of the amount of money that they've been receiving, the amount of money that's been spent on slush funds, etc. We're seeing an absolute lack of governance in what's happening. People don't even know what's happening in their own organization. Now, my worry is that after all of this, circus on the television, nobody's actually going to lose their job. Nobody's actually going to have any penalty financially to them at all. Yes, what's likely to happen is that there will be a reorganization of the executive board in there, and that will mean that people may have to step down from the board, but they will get a severance package. They'll get their pensions, they'll get their wages for a period of time, etc. So there's no real cost to them to do that. So the key ingredient to accountability is cost. And if a person doesn't fulfill their contract, if they don't do their job properly, if a TD or a minister allows for this kind of rubbish to go on in the driving situation for 20, 35 years, well, then there should be a cost. That person should lose their job. And that's not unusual in other European countries when you have a silly thing, a stupid thing like this happening, which could in effect lead to people being killed on the roads. A person would lose their job. A person would be held accountable. And that's the key missing ingredient in this country.
Just back to the RTE thing in relation to that. And this is strange because a lot of people aren't calling for this. Whoever, whether it was contrived or not, but incredibly convenient, whoever sought or accepted the resignation of D. Forbes, who was then blamed for everything that happens at RTE, they all should be removed from that board as well. Ignorance is not a defence. Oh, well, we thought obviously there's the executive board and then the board above them, isn't it? That board above them should also be disbanded because they rob the public of answers. Now, it is all very convenient that they sought a resignation, eventually accepted it, and now Ms. Forbes can't speak to the committee. The one person really that can answer questions. Again, it's not only the executive board that needs to go from RTE, it's the board that allowed that situation in full knowledge of what was to come just 3 days later. But again, they're not even talking about that in the committee meetings, which I find, there was some reference made to it. But anyone who accepted that resignation, their position to me is untenable.
I agree. I think it's an incredible situation that, ignorance is being used as an excuse by many people in these committee hearings. But if you were in a private business and you were getting paid a big wage to do something and you said, well, I just didn't know, you just wouldn't last in that job after a period of time. Now, I'm a left of centre political activist, and I do believe that the state should have a role in certain aspects of our lives. But I will tell you, the older I get, the more frustrated I become. Because right now, if you put the word national in front of any project, you're nearly guaranteed for that project to burst all its budgets, to go way beyond time, and to cost the citizen massive money. So the National Children's Hospital, the National Maternity Hospital, the National Broadband, RTE, the state is being allowed to run massive projects really, really poorly. And the reason it's happening is because there's no accountability.
But there is a sense that it doesn't matter who's elected to work with the system, that it's the system itself to its very core that is in control, that runs the situation, that is untouchable. We've had the promises of people saying, well, elect me and we'll go in and we'll change things. But at the end of the day...
I will tell you this. One of the major problems in the political class is because so many politicians are passengers on their buses. They're not steering their buses. What's happening is senior civil servants, the long-term civil servants, are actually in control of the situation. I will tell you, when AIM2 gets into government, we will have a situation that if any civil servant does not fulfill their contract, that civil servant will be released from that contract. They will no longer be in that position because we cannot run a country in the manner that's happening at the moment. It's costing far too much for citizens, and that the standard of service in health and housing and so much else is far too low than it should be. And, this country is grinding to a halt in many areas, especially with the level of bureaucracy that's been put into the system as well.
Okay, listen, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. Have a good day. Take care. That is Deputy Peadar Tobin, who is the leader of Ain't To. Again, good luck to him if he thinks he can save the system. How then would you stop people simply retiring from a position or moving on, and then they are then beyond the reach of the authorities? Who's going to negotiate with the unions to ensure that you can just sack someone? You know what I mean? Listen, he knows more than I do, but it's certainly not something I would ever commit to try and change, because I don't really think you possibly could. Right, okie doke. Let me take a break. Stay where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The enhancement to the legislation for the management of business waste means all waste collectors must now provide 3 bins to their business customers for the separation of recycling, organic and general waste, and place all customers on an incentivised price plan. Your waste collector will provide further guidance on these important changes. A message from My Waste, brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Kia. With the Kia Ceed petrol and diesel, the Sportage in hybrid, plug-in hybrid and diesel, and the award-winning car of the year, the EV6 all-electric. All available for immediate delivery. Call into iMotors in Letterkenny or Malin to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
The Big Salento Summer Sale is now on, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Shop all your favourite brands in men's, women's and kids' fashion at unbeatable prices. And just in time for the holiday season, look good, feel good and save money at Salento Strabane. Don't miss it. Euro rate 85 pence and free parking at Salento.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who is the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Welcome back to the programme. There's a new film that's available and it's showing in Eclipse Cinemas and it's called Under the Kitchen Sink. And the person behind it is, or one of those, is Caelan Goan, who joins us on the programme now. Caelan, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's good to speak to you, and it's funny, I was having this conversation about putting stuff literally under the kitchen sink yesterday, and by pure coincidence, because we have a toddler around the house, Caelan, and by pure coincidence, I'm talking to you today. Take us back to when you were 18 months old.
Well, I obviously don't remember it quite well, but I got under the kitchen sink and I got access to caustic soda, which is a grain cleaner, crystallized grain cleaner, and my mum was in the toilet at the time. It was literally 5 seconds and I drank a bit of it and it had burned my whole insides and my mouth and stuff and left me in a bad way.
Yeah, and it was only because of quick reactions that were able to speak to you at all that you didn't lose your life, Caelan.
Yeah. There was a few scares at the start, but after a long journey, I'm here and I'm able to tell my story and I'm happy to do so.
Now, you have had numerous operations over the last, well, really since the age of 18. I mean, do you have a number on it, and what were those what have those operations achieved, and why were they carried out on you, Caelan?
I've actually had 64 operations since that. So that was like 22 years ago. So basically, I couldn't really eat properly, and I couldn't talk properly, and I'm operating. Now, a lot of them weren't successful, but thankfully some of them were. So I'm able to talk easily, and I'm able to eat relatively normal food. And
very good. Now, people would maybe have heard your story before. You were on that TV3 or Virgin Media documentary, Temple Street. So remind people of your role in that documentary. It was your story, obviously, but in Temple Street Hospital.
It was. I think it was one of my breakthrough operations in 2012. I filmed most of it. I didn't really say much on it, but it was mostly my mum and my surgeon that were talking about what was being done to me and how you were trying to improve my life, and I did. So thank God. But
now you and you've got a good friend, haven't you? You and Ryan Field is a mate of yours. Have come together to make your own film now. So talk to us about that.
We decided why not tell my story from my perspective, because the past few years has been mostly told by my family and my doctors. And over lockdown, I was contacted by a person in Australia, and she had said that she had seen my story on YouTube, and she had been through something similar, and seeing my story had inspired her to, push through her tragedy. And then we thought, why not make a documentary in the hopes of inspiring people who might be in similar situations? Because I have the privilege to and show people that no matter what happens, there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, for sure, and it's a real story of inspiration. And Caelan too, is there an element to it now? I haven't had an opportunity to see it though, because I think everyone knows the dangers of putting dangerous substances under the sink, and we all do it. Not all. We don't all do it. Lots of people do it. Do you hope that too in this story that it sort of brings home the importance of making sure some of these items that sometimes look like sweets, God knows, that to make sure they're well out of the reach of young people?
Absolutely, and we make a point of telling people that on the documentary, just to be careful that something like this doesn't happen in your own home. But we're lucky these days is that the bottles are tightly locked and harder to get access to, but you never know what can happen in the space of a short time, so we're just letting people know that it is easily done and it is easily preventable.
Okay, and the documentary it's got a cinema release. In fact, as I mentioned, it's in Eclipse Cinemas, and people can check out when it's on. And also, Caelan, I mean, it's great. Yeah, it's great to get a cinema audience, but it's the kind of thing that you'd want as many people to see as possible. So, are you looking for any other outlets for it to be released, or is it available? Will it be available after it's been on in the cinema anywhere else?
Well, it'll be on YouTube anyway, for sure. But we're not sure about anything else at the minute, but you never know, it could be shown in different cinemas around the country in the country, so we'll see how it goes on the 20th of July.
And you and Ryan, did you think it would get this far when you come up with the idea? Has it been a pleasant surprise?
It has been. We're both very nervous and anxious about the reception it's gotten, and it hasn't been released yet, but yeah, we weren't expecting half this reception, but we're happy for it, and the more people that can make aware of the dangers of chemicals is all the better, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so Under the Kitchen Sink, tell us where people can watch it locally and at what times. I think you mentioned the date and time there, Caelan.
Yeah, it'll be on the 20th of July in the Kids Cinemas Bungalore. And after that, I'm not sure if it sells out. It'll be in the cinema again, but after that, it'll be on YouTube.
Brilliant. Well done, Caelan.
After all that, excellent.
Thank
you very much.
All right, good man. Well done. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it. That's Caelan Golan there. Caelan Golan, at 18 months old, he drank caustic soda, caused horrific injuries, and he could have lost his life only for a quick medical intervention. He's had 60 plus operations, but now he can speak again, he can taste food again, and as I say, many of you might have seen him on that documentary Temple Street, which was on TV3 or Virgin Media as it's now known. All right, thank you for that. Okay, what about the young people, says this listener, who have their lessons took and applied for? Their test has to wait 8, maybe 9 months, but they are still being charged for insurance as a learner driver through no fault of their own. Why should us young people pay thousands on insurance while they wait for months for their driving test? It's a horrendous situation, and it only makes it, I think, even more pressurised that all of it leads to that one test. I don't know why they have to wait so long. It's terrible, really. Can anyone, Greg, remember what was the main topic in government before the whole saga started? Surely there's more important issues to be discussed. Most people couldn't care less about a couple of extra pounds Ryan Tubridy received. This practice was probably known about for a long time. I think we are being distracted from other serious issues like Irish neutrality, which was, if I'm not mistaken, the headline. Does anyone have an opinion on this? It's an interesting point that you make, but of course, again, as I said, I think this conversation, and Deputy Tobin mentioned this as well, and I've said it in the past, I think this whole thing that's happening in RTE talks to the whole public services situation as well. I mean, the Dáil is going into recess shortly. They're going to have their holidays in the not too distant future. And again, as it relates to that whole conversation about Irish neutrality, I think that's actually hardened the view of people that they don't want to go down that route. And in fact, it's given a voice to people that had a feeling on it but never spoke about it in the past. Right, okay. But I take your point, but it is not insignificant either.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Experience comfort like never before at half the price in our massive hotel quality mattress sale now on at Better Value Furnishings Moville. Due to overstocking, we must clear hundreds of mattresses at half price. Get your quality mattress at half price and sleep like a king. Better Value Furnishings, Main Street, Moville. See our Facebook for more details.
Who said electrification can't spark excitement? From introducing Ireland's first EV to redefining the family car, Nissan has always led from the front. And now we're breaking new ground once more with e-Power, Nissan's unique hybrid driving system, fueled by petrol, driven by electric, no need to recharge, giving you the pleasure of electric driving without the need to plug in. New Nissan Qashqai and X-Trail with e-Power. Drive it to believe it at your nearest Nissan dealer. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Your local Nissan dealer is iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin. Visit imotors.ie. Join us in Austin Le Alton, Gordahork every Friday night this summer for Donegal's best night of music and dance with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Cramsey, on stage from 10 till 12. Why not come early and join us for our Friday night steak night offer? 2 delicious steaks for just €36 and stay overnight with bed and breakfast the following morning for just €70 per person. For reservations, call Austin Le Alton on 074 9135 267.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
The Saturday Shuffle with Paul McDevitt will be live this Saturday from Home Store and More in Letterkenny Retail Park, where you will find great savings and a choice with their selection of homeware. Whether it's cooking up a storm in the kitchen or transforming your living space, they will have quality items that you want at great value. That's this Saturday from 12 noon, live from Home Store and More in Letterkenny.
Rightio. You are tuned to the 9 till noon show. Just to remind you of the telephone numbers, WhatsApps and text to 086 60 25,000. If you're outside the Republic, it's 00353 86 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, 07491 25,000. Okay. We have learned that a foundation set up in memory of Derry City footballer Ryan McBride may be forced to close over funding cuts. This according to members of the charity. Gareth McKay is a board member of the Ryan McBride Foundation and joins us now. Thank you very much for joining us, Gareth.
No problem, Greg. Thanks very much for having me.
Remind the listeners as to the why this foundation, this charity, was founded and what work it does.
Yes, so Ryan obviously was captain of Derry City. He was born and lived and passed away just a few doors from the stadium. As a lad growing up, played local football, but he was never in any like the academy systems and never really picked out. And he was playing sort of local pub football when he was 17 and got noticed by some of the coaches at Derry City, John Quigg and Eddie Sadak, and he was asked to come and train with the first team. And Ryan had kind of played a bit but hadn't really focused enough probably to be successful. Unfortunately, his mother passed away when he was 17 from cancer, and it kind of changed Ryan's life. He focused, and he went to Derry City to the first team, and Stephen Kenny was the manager, obviously Ireland manager now. And Stephen saw something in Ryan and developed him, and within 6 months, he'd gone from playing pub football to playing against Shamrock Rovers in the Brandywell, marking Gary Twigg, who was probably one of the most deadliest strikers the league's seen, and kept him quiet the whole game, and Derry won. And Ryan's career took off from there, and he then eventually became captain of the club. And for anyone in Derry, becoming captain of Derry City is, it's as good as playing for Man United or Celtic.
And I think like the story of how he got there made it all the more relatable. A local lad and find his path, and then going on to achieve what he wanted to do. And I think for all of us, we remember when that news came through in March of, I think it was 2017, and right. just the shock and the outpouring then of love and respect in Ryan's direction. So the foundation was then created with the aim of doing what?
So the foundation, I suppose it's support, assist, and inspire is the three words that we have. That's kind of our three values, and it was set up really to try and help young people. Look, we understand that it's not really our role to try and create footballers. That's for professional clubs. But we use football, we use sport, we use being healthy as a means to try and help children basically reach their potential, whatever it is, and it's to show them that they can achieve, and it doesn't matter what background they come from or where they come from.
And it's discipline, isn't it? And it's routine, and it's with other people. We see it in boxing clubs, we see it in football clubs, we see it in athletics. It's proven that it can help either keep young people on the straight and narrow, or give them a focus, or pull them away from a different type of life. Not just that, but I mean, it can have those benefits as well.
Yeah, it's a massive social aspect to it. That's what it is. And we work with children from 3 years up to about 14, but then we also bring young adults into the foundation as coaches on apprenticeships. So we give them a job and give them a chance to try and get a role in football. And we also, our coaches are trained to go and work with children then with additional needs. So we've worked in Arden Ashe School, we've worked in Foyle Down Syndrome Trust. So it's a wide, the foundation's got a wide scope, but it is all around, healthy activity, healthy living. And as part of the programme that we've lost the funding on, we built in issues around, bullying, racism. So each week had a different aspect, and the coaches spent 10 minutes building that into the sessions, explaining what bullying is, and it's not always hitting someone. Sometimes it can be ignoring people, and so it's and then we get them active. So there's loads of different aspects to it. It's not just here's a football and away you go.
Yeah, exactly. So the primary school community project was supported through the executive, working with 30 schools, 2,000 children involved every single week. Then you've got the coaches that you've mentioned. And then was it out of the blue? You received an email that discussed funding. When did that happen? What did it say?
So around about probably maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago, we received an email just advising that funding had been cut, and that, everyone should expect that they're not going to receive their full funding that they received the year before. We were fine with that. We understand the realities around things, and we understand what's happening with government. We understand the effects of Brexit and everything else. So we had meetings, and we looked at ways of absorbing the loss of the funding we were going to have, and we did a Go Red for Ryan scheme, which was great, and everyone got involved in. And then last week we got an email to say actually we've received zero, and that is just unsustainable, and it's too big a hurdle really to climb.
I think if we opened up the text line and asked people who didn't know to guess how much funding it received from the Northern Ireland office last year, and given what we've spoken about, and given the fact that they're talking about pressure on budgets, I think people would guess £250,000, £500,000 or whatever. But the figures that you were able to eke out so much from was relatively small last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we managed we got 45,000 last year, and the foundation supplements that with some funds to keep it going.
But you need that core central funding, though, really, that gets you going, don't you?
You do, because you need the certainty that you can afford to employ the staff that run the project. So the foundation's run by a board of volunteers. We all have our own jobs and we do our own things, but we have coaches and we have a coordinator that runs the foundation, runs all the schemes, highly skilled, number of different training schemes in relation to dealing with kids with additional needs, all of that, and you just need to know that you've got the core funding that you can commit the schools. Look, we can be there 2 hours every week for 37, 38 weeks, whatever it is of the school term, because you've got to make the commitment from the start to the end. It's not good luck for the children either if you kind of flit in and flit out because your funding's gone. So you need that bulk that you can commit.
What can be done now, though? I mean, look, I don't know if there's any advantage of getting into the politics, but there's an awful lot of people sitting doing nothing at the moment. They'll argue they're working in the constituencies, blah, 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 blah. But there's a lot of money being given to politicians who are effectively not at work, some would feel, which makes even the likes of the 40,000 pale into absolute insignificance. I mean, is there any route to an appeal on this? Because this is not only this project, this actually put the future of the foundation into doubt, Gareth.
It does. It certainly puts it in the doubt in terms of what we do at the minute. We will not be able to deliver what we're delivering. In fact, we'll be able to deliver very little. The foundation will always be there because we want Ryan's name and legacy to keep going. But in terms of the format that we're in now, the staff that we're in, the guys that we have running it, it's just not going to be sustainable. What can be done now? Well, there's no appeal mechanism to the executive office, so that's gone. We can start to apply to other funds, but that's a longish process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
we're already contacting Children in Need. We're contacting the National Lottery Fund. We're looking at there's a SEPU fund as well that's heavily funded by the Irish government. There's obviously a potential that we may have to consult with Irish government agencies and see if they can fund it, because we can incorporate border schools, because obviously our projects straddle the border. We do schools in Colmore and Hollybush, which are literally a stone throw from the border, so we can make this a cross border. It's currently a cross community project.
Yeah, why not bring it across the border as well? For sure, as you know, lots of people in North Donegal follow Derry City. Okay, well, listen, keep us updated on any developments. I hope something comes from this. The money we're talking about for what's delivered is, in the wider scale of things, it's small change in terms of overall budgets, and I just hope that someone sees sense. In briefly, is there a fundraiser or anywhere that if someone wants to contribute, they can?
We haven't gone down that route at the minute, Greg, because we did, as I said, when we knew we were getting cut, we did do a fundraiser a couple of months ago, Go Red for Ryan Day, which was really
you mentioned
well supported.
That,
yeah, so we just don't want to go back to the public because we know it cost of living crisis at the minute, so we're looking at other options. But yeah, certainly in the future, it may happen.
All right, hopefully. Well, keep us in the loop, Gareth, if you don't mind. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Okay, that was Gareth McKay, board member of the Ryan McBride Foundation. They only got 45,000 last year, nothing this year from the Northern Ireland Executive.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Summer is here, and that's why Super Value is making sure it's the summer of savings. Enjoy great offers like Super Value Fresh Irish Fillet Steak, save 33%. Selected HB ice cream like Magnum 3-pack, any two for €7. And Baron de Villiers 6-pack wine case deal, €50. For a summer of savings, it's got to be Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Harkins Fireplaces summer sale now on. 50% off selected fireplaces. Call 9141109 or visit their showroom in Ballybogan, Lifford. That's Harkins Fireplaces, for a better choice of fireplace.
We're sorry to inform you of yet another delay. No, not the train this time, it's John. He's delayed getting his eyes tested. If he's accidentally sat in your lap, knocked over your suitcase or kissed you instead of his wife, we can only apologise. John has now been informed that eye tests and glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers are free with PRSI or medical card, so there's no need to delay booking an appointment. Find out more at specsavers.ie. John, can you get off my lap?
Cupra, for mentor. 2 words causing quite a stir, because this car stops you in your tracks, even when it's standing still. But that's what it was designed to do. Make a stunning first impression. And what's more, with the offers now available in July, there are 0 reasons not to choose the Cupra for mentor. Visit Connolly's Cupra, Sligo. See our incredible offers at cupraofficial.ie.
For all your training needs, Northwest Forestry Services Training Department Ballybuffet offer a wide range of courses from training bodies such as NPTC City and Guilds, QQI, LANTRA and ABA International. Courses include all land-based services such as chainsaw, tree climbing and rescue, pesticides, working in heights and ATV training. Other courses offered include first aid responder, manual handling and building safety, to name but a few. For a full list of training courses and availability, contact Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet on 074 9132 033.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And I'm in studio now with Donald Kavanagh, because at 11 o'clock it's time for a news update. Morning, Donald.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Banking and Insurance Focus Group has briefed the Oireachtas Finance Committee on issues pertaining to financial matters in the ongoing defective blocks crisis. 4 members of the group addressed the committee, all of them arguing that banks should not be allowed profit from the misfortune of homeowners. One of them, Donna McDade, is now in the process of rebuilding after her home was demolished. She told the committee she continues to pay her mortgage, and when she sought support from her bank, she was offered no more than a mortgage break and loans at current market rates, subject to credit assessment. She told the committee the very least that banks should be providing is 0% loans. You can hear her full submission and see a link to the entire committee hearing on our website, highlandradio.com. The Garda Commissioner is coming under mounting pressure to provide additional resources for Gardaí in Donegal. The Cathaoirleach of Glenties Municipal District says people, particularly in the west of the county, fear the fallout of the potential closure of Garda stations. Earlier this year, Commissioner Drew Harris told the JPC in Donegal he would take their concerns around the number of Garda vehicles and Garda personnel in the county on board. Councillor Michael McLafferty says now it's time for the Commissioner to act on that promise. Donegal County Council is being told that while Uisce Éireann works due to take place in Uras Clonmany will resolve a number of issues in the area, they will not address the key problem faced by several residents, particularly those living on higher ground. Councillor Ina Donaghy says the laying of 800 metres of new pipe will help, but a reservoir will be needed to ensure a uniform and reliable supply. And the group representing victims of abuse in the Defence Forces has rejected the terms of reference for an inquiry into what's been described as a culture of bullying and abuse. Women of Honour are criticising what they say is Taoiseach Micheál Martin's decision to ram through flawed terms of reference, which they will be opposing when they meet him today. And the bodies of 2 young Dublin men who died in Greece last weekend are being flown home today. Andrew O'Donnell and Max Wall, both 18, died in separate incidents in EOS. They were part of a group from a school in South Dublin celebrating the end of the Leaving Cert. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
All right, Donald, thank you very much indeed for that. OK, we're going to get in the garden with Paul shortly. That's coming up. Any gardening questions, get them into us ASAP. I should have mentioned this to you a little earlier on, but I forgot. So if you've any questions about gardening, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000 or 0035386 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, you know that number too, don't you? Well, if you don't, here it is, 07491 25,000 outside the Republic again, 003537491 25,000. Now, you don't have to have a resplendent lawn or loads of outdoor space. You know, there's lots you can do indoors as well. So if you want to get a bit of colour and scent into your house and you're wondering, well, what could you do? What could you grow? Get your questions in right now and I'll get the answers as soon as possible. We also have a cracking young band in studio. They're going to be performing for us live a little later on. And just to remind you that you can listen, and we love the vast majority of you listening, but we have over 4 million live minutes viewed of this show already this year. So if you want to watch Paul, if you want to watch the band, hop onto YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or Facebook, Highland Radio News and Sport or Highland Hub, and engage with us that way.
Purina One. Visible health for today and tomorrow. When a cat is healthy, you can see it on the outside. But do you know what makes them look healthy on the inside? It's your cat's gut microbiome, a dynamic ecosystem of trillions of microorganisms. Purina One by Fences balances the bad and good bacteria to help support their gut microbiome. Search for Purina One's Blue Pack online and in-store.
Right, let's get to some of... well, actually, before we do that, let's go to a telephone call because May joins us now. Hi, May.
Hello, Greg. How are you?
Did you nearly call me Sean, May? Old habits die hard.
Exactly.
And there's no harm in that either, by the way. It would be an honour. Okay, so May, you were listening to Caelan a little earlier on, and this resonated with an experience in your house, didn't it, May?
It was. I'm going back now. I think it was 1989 now. We live in a farm down here at Rye near Rathmullen, and there had been an old sort of car here for parts out, and Sean and Sinead, the twins, they were about 4 years of age, and they were out and they were playing in the car and that. And the next thing, Sean came in and he was sort of choking, you know, and he had been on medicine for his chest at that particular time. I thought this is maybe he took his own medicine and it went the wrong way. But anyhow, I give him a glass of cold water, and when he started to take it, he started to foam at the mouth.
Oh my word.
Just foam, and of course I panicked, and when my late husband died there a year and a half ago, and I got him and took him up to the hospital or to the doctors, and then they said that give him just ice cream and keep, you know, and went on and on like this. So eventually, anyway, he got worse, and he had to be taken to the hospital. And he was in Letterkenny for a while, and then he was transferred up to Our Ladies in Crumlin.
Yeah.
And he didn't go through the operation for, it was I think, a few years after that, because they tried everything that they could do. But eventually he did have the operation.
Before we get to that, because it really is quite a remarkable operation, particularly for that time, May, did you ever find out what he consumed?
I didn't. But we went up at a night time. It was it was a Wednesday evening. I got a message to say that there was a bed free up in Dublin. So I thought I would just go on up. So we went up that night. And then the next morning, when the surgeon that came round, then they said, I explained to him, and he says, really, Mrs. McFadden, he says, with your quick reaction, he didn't get it into his stomach.
Wow, okay. But it did cause serious damage, though, didn't it, to his esophagus?
It did. Yeah, he had to get 3 inches cut of his colon, and it was transplanted onto his esophagus.
Wow. And how did that operation work? Like, did
it worked? Yeah, it worked quite good. He was away right enough from 11 in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
And then they sent him out with what they called it a bougie.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 24 inches of sort of like a rubber tube.
Yes.
And it was full of mercury. And he had to swallow that 2 or 3 times a day.
Wow.
To make sure that the throat, that the esophagus would work.
Yeah, okay. And what was the long-term, was there any long-term damage caused, or did the operation resolve most of the issues, May?
Oh, well, yeah, the operation did do that, and it went on and on for years and years. He's in his 40s now.
Right.
And it went on and on for years, and I got any clue at all that the throat was narrowing, we've just headed straight to Dublin.
Right. And did that happen often?
Oh, well, mind you, there was weeks, a good while up in Dublin with it,
Mm-hmm.
But it came on then, as I thought this was a lifelong thing. And then about 6-7 years ago then, he was up for the dilatation for the esophagus.
Yes.
And I was speaking to the head surgeon, and he had a talk with me, and he said, I just want to tell you, Mrs. McFadden, he says, he should be clear of this hospital in about a year and a half. Now, that was in November of that year.
This isn't well into his 30s now, isn't it, May? Yeah?
He's in his 40s now.
No, but when they said he'll be clear of the hospital...
Oh, yeah, it was in his 40s.
Okay, so what did he change, or what happened?
Oh, well, I suppose prayer had a lot to do with it too. Right. And we were out in Lourdes. We went out to Lourdes as well in 1991.
Yeah.
And the surgeon that I was talking to, he told me that news in November, that within a year and a half or something, he should be completely cured.
That's remarkable.
So, well, do you know, Greg, it was the greatest Christmas present I ever got, to hear them words. For I thought that it was a lifelong thing, that he would have to do that all his life. And actually, there was a man came over from England, from the Children's Hospital that's over in England, and he came. I got a phone call to say that he was calling. So he came here and he took a video of Sean swallowing the bougie.
Right, okay. I don't think they'd prescribe mercury now to consume, would they?
Well, I wouldn't think so. It was full of mercury, and then he doesn't take it now, thank God. But he's still weary too, just about it,
I love, May, the fact that you speak about him as if he's still 4 years old. He's still your wee baby. Still your wee baby. You're talking about your down.
And will be.
I know,
and
but
will be.
you're talking about being down in Dublin and chatting to his surgeon and him a big hairy 40-year-old. I love it. It'd be the exact same as it would be in my house, by the way. So that's I think that's a lovely part of the story. Now he is happily married and everything's going good, May.
Thank God. He did have there some time ago. He started to get the hiccup.
Right.
And, Greg, it was unbelievable what he suffered for about 10 days.
Mm.
And he tried everything, and he had tablets, and now he can't take tablets except soluble ones.
Yes.
Yeah. And he decided then that he would go up to the hospital and see if they could give him something for the hiccups.
Yeah.
And they went up, he went in, he was putting a drip and one thing and another, so then they let him out then on the Wednesday and with a prescription for tablets, and he came out the way he went in, and then his stepdaughter then said, she says, I'll try and see if I can get anything that'll help you in any way.
Yes.
And she went online and she got a hiccup straw, as they call it, and within a couple of hours, the hiccups was gone. After him spending nearly over a week in the hospital.
Wow, amazing stuff. Listen, come here. I'm glad that everything has turned out well from that experience.
But you couldn't watch. I mean, on a farm too, and there was nothing. It was just happened to be in the car that my late husband had bought for parts for the other car, and the two of them were playing. They weren't at school. They were only 4.
Yeah,
and and there were only 4, and then the first communions was coming on. Then I didn't know what the story was because the two of them were going for first communion. So they said then up in the hospital, the chaplain up there said, "Well, he says I can, give him a first communion here, and then with them being twins, I thought." No, I prefer the two to go together. So I rang the parish priest here in Rathmullen at that time, and he said that he would do them any time. But before that, then the surgeon come round and he says, if you want to take him home for the communion. Yeah. So we got out on the Friday, and then they made the first communion Saturday.
Okay.
And the only thing was he couldn't take the communion. He had to take the wine.
Of course, right, okay, yeah, because of the injury, yeah.
Yeah, and that, it was very emotional because he got out on the Friday and then he had to go back into the hospital again on the Tuesday.
Oh, he's been through it, and you have too. And of course, too, May, you mentioned losing your husband really recently too, and hopefully you got good comfort from your faith, which it's clear you have.
That's the only thing people has to look to. I'll tell you, at a time like that too, that's when you know when the prayer is great. But thank God, he's married now and he's back to square one. You know what I mean?
Exactly. All right, May, listen.
But it is terrible right enough, when to do it. But as I say, there was nothing.
Yeah, and like between washing powder and the wee dishwasher tablets that look like sweets, wee Hudson came into me yesterday. Because there was a box out, come into me with one of those wee dishwasher tablets thinking it was a sweet, asking me to open it. That's why I said to Kaylin earlier on that we were talking about this yesterday. It's just that for I'm over careful, May, but it's just that in that instant you can just let your guard down and you just don't know. It's not bad parenting, it's hard to keep on track of everything. So conversations like this with you, May, and Kaylin earlier just reminds us to double check those spaces and make sure.
They were sitting. This bag was in, or wee box was in the car.
Yeah.
And they thought that it was sugar.
Oh,
and
right.
he took it, but his twin sister, she didn't take it.
She knew better, probably.
And that's what the surgeon said to me. He says, with the quick reaction of giving the water, and sort of then Francie went out then to the car.
Because if that had gone into his stomach, it would have been a whole different story. Okay, May, listen.
It would have been.
It's been lovely speaking. It's been lovely. Sorry, May, I beg your pardon. Slight delay there in the line. It's been lovely speaking to you, and I'm glad to hear that all's well that ends well, and he's happily married, and it's a happy ending to the story, and he's still your wee 4-year-old or your wee 3-year-old.
Toot.
Of course it is.
Okay,
Bye,
great.
May. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. All right, okay. Another big baby in front of me now. Paul McLaughlin, gardener at Ballochthurr Garden Centre in the Mountaintop Letterkenny. Paul, how are you?
Not so bad. I still get referred to as the Wayne as well.
Me too. Yeah, me too. It just doesn't change, particularly with mums. Right. Okay. The weather. I'm kind of not interested in anything to do with the anything that I just want to do. I want to do summer stuff like gardens and grass and plants and get outdoors. But the weather has been. What has the weather meant for our greenery and our flowers and what have you, Paul?
Pretty much everything's growing quite well again now. Like the grass is growing again. It really, during the sort of heat wave we had there, it had really taken a step back. You could see the verges all turning yellow and stuff.
Yeah.
But they're
Grand needed it, didn't it?
That did, surely.
Yeah.
And it's actually the sort of persistent rain that's been happening sort of slightly over the time is actually wetting the ground fairly well. So it's actually, but for anybody growing crops, potatoes or stuff like that, would be perfect to actually get.
Yeah, for sure, just at the right time.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean, though, that we should neglect watering, because not everything gets access to the water that comes from the sky.
Absolutely not. No, it's very easy to become complacent at this sort of stage. So it is.
I think that's what I was talking about, my complacency.
Yes. But no, it's sort of, whenever you look out and it's raining, you think, God, it'll be grand, if you know what I mean. But the stuff sort of in under porches or in under the eaves of the house is not getting it. So you really have to keep up on the what do you call it?
The advice is always there, isn't it, in terms of deadheading and is feeding. I mean, obviously deadhead all the time. It's an important part of the whole process now. A good time to feed. What should we be feeding our plants?
Perfect time to feed. Probably for flowers, that sort of stuff, Miracle Grow's your best bet. Sort of as a cover-all sort of thing, you know. But because the thing's actively growing now, it's perfect time to feed because it gets the most out of it right through the plant.
Feeding, so feed them the good stuff, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Right, we also, I mean, not everything, we have to keep an eye out for stuff. You mentioned potatoes, blight, that we've had a few blight warnings. I think a lot of people are right across that if they're used to growing potatoes, but still. But what other things should we keep an eye out around our plants that we could remove or could be damaging our plants?
Pretty much the big thing to look out for at the moment would be slugs.
Yeah.
That sort of dampish weather is just perfect conditions for them to be active. It's warm and it's damp, so they love that sort of thing. So keep an eye out for slugs. Just physically remove them if you want, or use your beer traps or whatever. And another thing, sort of a relation of the blight would be black spot and roses. So if you got any of them sort of fungal infections, this sort of weather's perfect for them. So just keep a wee eye out and treat
especially as the temperatures creep up as we head towards the weekend. It's going to be even damper and warmer.
Humid, probably.
Right. I mean, we over the course of doing this get more and more questions all the time about people growing their own food. A, it's a nice hobby. B, it's satisfying. But C, also too, you know, people are becoming, with cost of living and all, I'm not saying this is the solution to it, but I think we've become more aware and look at it a bit more. Is what about now if someone wants to get into that, they've got a bit of space?
Yeah.
Can you grow food at the moment?
Yeah, pretty much.
What can you get?
Now's perfect time for growing food, I suppose.
Tins of beans?
Pretty you can grow your own beans if you want.
Tins?
Tins, possibly not.
In delicious ketchup?
Yes, what do you call? But no, funny your own tin stuff there. There is nothing like your own beetroot.
Yes.
Like what you got, beetroot is perfect for growing. We getting a wee bit borderline late for it now, if you know what I mean. But you can still sow it from seed now. But there is nothing tastes like your own beetroot. Like it's nothing like the stuff in
what
the
else? Salads are easy, aren't they? Anything leafy or herby is
absolutely
easy.
Probably
enough,
if you're
isn't
starting with something like rocket, it'd be very good because it's very quick growing. If you know what I mean. And if you want to go or oriental sort of stuff like the pak choi, now it'd be perfect at this time of year.
And for those who have a head start, is anything being harvested at the moment? I think spuds over the next couple of weeks and towards the end of the month, depending when they were sold and what have you. What else is?
I suppose in my own garden, the strawberries are coming on nicely, but I'm sort of harvesting away.
Where are they?
Yes, next week maybe or so. But no, funny, last night I actually got a pile of cucumbers off the plants too in the tunnel.
Cool.
So they didn't know they're actually
above ground, are they?
They're right. It grows like a climber almost.
Yes.
So it does now, but you get loads, even one.
How big are your cucumbers?
My cucumbers be about
that's a decent
12,
size
13
cucumber.
inches.
And how thick?
Thick, probably about 2 inches across.
And is
maybe.
it this exactly as the one you might get in a shop? Because you know we
Exactly,
talked earlier on about before about carrots, and carrots can be, can look different than but your cucumbers.
No, these ones will be fairly perfect. So
tomatoes,
tomatoes, yes, wee bit early for tomatoes to be ready. Mine, they're actually nicely on the plant.
My mother loved growing tomatoes. It was almost like we never existed when they started the wee green balls.
Yes, funny that's mine are just like that at the moment. They're just the wee green. What do you got? Things going on nicely now, but probably in the next few weeks they'll be ready.
Brilliant.
Sort of starting to come ready.
Excellent. Okay, they're also in your tunnels.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if you're very lucky in a south-facing wall around here, you may get them growing outside certain varieties, but generally they're an undercover plant.
But the tunnels aren't necessarily incredibly expensive or scientific or what have you. I mean, it's not hard to create one, I imagine.
No, absolutely not. There are 1,000,001 versions online you can copy, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
And
it's not a science. I mean, there's a science to it, but it's not...
Yeah, exactly. I know it's someone you can actually put up a sort of structure. A lot of people sort of start with a homemade structure and work towards something bigger.
Once you start seeing the results, you go, right.
Exactly.
Okay. It's like fishing or something. Once you get or golf or whatever.
Catch the bug.
Is it too late to plant carrots, parsnips in a polytunnel? Very poor growth outdoors. How do we achieve no-dig gardening?
No-dig gardening is the thing that's become very popular in the last few years. So it has. It's a thing, you don't actually dig up the ground. What you do is cover it in cardboard and then add sort of compost, a layer of compost over the top of the cardboard. And over the course of the months, then the cardboard sort of biodegrades and then the ground and under comes into play. But it's a sort of not labour.
What's the advantage of that?
The advantage of it is first of all, the no dig.
Yeah, but you're still shoveling.
Yeah, you're still shoveling stuff, but it still is a lot less sort of labour intensive.
Right,
it gets rid of the weeds without actually digging them over, if you know what I mean. But no, I've seen a good few people using it to very good success.
So what about parsnips or carrots in a polytunnel?
Parsnips in a polytunnel, I would leave them for about a couple of weeks yet, because it'll be quite too hot in the tunnel. Almost
so it's not too late then?
No, it's not. Even outside, it's not too late for carrots.
But they're saying they've got very poor growth outdoors.
Pretty much. If you give them a good feed, now would be a better time to start them outdoors, because the tunnel's nearly too hot.
I've 2 apple trees. Wee apples were starting to grow. Next thing they fell off. Leaves all the way black on the apple tree. What's gone on there?
I would say they've probably been a victim of the heat wave that is gone by. What happens then a lot of times, if the tree sort of thinks that it's in drought conditions, it'll throw sort of the
goes
excess.
into survival mode.
Exactly.
Right.
So it just throws the excess stuff like the fruit off and that sort of thing, So it's just, I think it's probably a result of the heat.
What's the best grass seed to put down on patches, as our dog has made a track over and back and all the grass is worn away? Yeah, they want to sort of match the grass, don't
Pretty
they?
much. The most common around here is what's known as number 2 lawn seed. You get sort of 3 grades. Number 1 would be like a bowling green sort of grade. Number 2 sort of fairly rough, and number 3 would be quite rough. So number 2 generally will match in the most stuff.
Yeah.
And just mix it up with a bit of compost or a bit of sand just to keep the moisture in it until it establishes.
All right. Can you ask Paul, how often should you put sulphate of iron on a lawn, not just for moss kill, but for general feeding and greening?
For general, the sulphate of iron itself won't do much in terms of greening it itself, but it will kill the moss. And it allows the grass,
which allows the grass to thrive.
Yeah, pretty much. So pretty much, a lot of people do it just once a year, sort of around April, May time or so. But in a particular bad case, you could do sort of April, May, and then do it in September again.
All right. We've a plum tree. Never hear much about plums.
Oh, plums are quite popular, wouldn't it?
It's a long time since I've had a plum, actually. We have had a plum tree which with nothing ever on it. Why is it? Hopefully, it is a plum tree.
Yeah,
but it's never fruited. What's that?
Could be a couple of things going on there, but point number 1 would possibly just needs a general feed. So pretty much you can feed it now with something like your poultry manure, that sort of thing, and then April time to sort of put the feed directly towards it producing fruit will be potash. April time or so. But if in any doubt, just in case anything obvious going wrong with it, just take a few pictures and take it to your garden.
Yeah. Is it too late to plant roses?
Too late to plant roses? No. Once the plant's in a pot, you can plant it any time of year. You probably won't get as full display of blooms this year, but you'll also be in good fettle.
You're just replacing it's just a location thing, really.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Once the plant's in the pot, you can plant it any time of year.
Okay. What plants are suitable for a small barked area?
Small barked area. Pretty much, if you're doing an area like that there, what you'd want to do is sort of select a few plants that's going to flower at different times. Like generally, someone flowers spring, someone flowers summer, someone flowers autumn, and the likes of that there would be just to give yourself a range. So something like azaleas for the start of the year, maybe hebes for the autumn time, or hebes for the summertime, and something like rudbeckia for the autumn time would be perfect.
Our lawn was formerly a field, and now it's full of moss. Where do we start?
Yes, So big area, obviously. So probably someone like Scarifier, that like the ordinary push one, might be too big an area for it. So if you could sort of source even online somebody locally with a Scarifier in the back of a tractor, maybe would remove.
But
a
do
lot
you
of
have
the
to
moss.
talk about why there's moss there to begin with? In
Generally,
other words,
drainage would be a problem. All right,
because that could be a fight and battle, couldn't it? An ongoing battle.
Absolutely, yeah. But generally, a bigger area like that, you'd be probably not looking for just like a bowling green lawn anyway.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if you could think, but drainage probably would be the first issue to look at.
All right, what month can I plant beetroot?
Beetroot, ideally for beetroot, you'd be planting it sort of March, April in trays and then setting it out about sort of May, June or so. But if you want to directly do it from seed, you do it either June or pretty much now. You can still do it in
For
July.
when, if you were doing it from seed for now, when would you start seeing the fruit of your endeavours?
Yes, about October.
Okay, so
in the middle of October.
now's a good time to seed it if you've got the patience to wait till
Exactly.
October. Right, this is a biggie. Novice gardener. They want to get into it. They haven't a notion where to begin,
right?
But want to make a start on my garden. It is very large. So do you start
Mm-hmm.
in the middle, around the ends? Where do you begin? What happened?
I suppose the thing to do there was sort of get a.
Do you know what I'd do? I'd take a picture and go in and see you.
That's probably number one thing to
That's
do.
what
All
I'd
right,
do, because just because we've said it in the past, and let's reiterate it. You can see the wood for the trees, if you know what I mean. You can say, well, that might not go nice here, that might go nice. It's hard for you to sort of pass that information and allow you to do so, of course, Paul. But that's what you're there for. Say, look at, you're there to inspire, and, you're at the start of someone's journey. You would love it. And the same of the brilliant staff in all the other garden centres as well.
Absolutely,
You've said it time and again, haven't you? Take a picture, come in, have a chat.
And actually, it's never been easier to do that in the sense now with Google Earth and stuff. You
Yeah.
can actually measure from your phone. You can measure your garden, all aspects of it, and even get the direction of where the sun's coming from and stuff, So that'll be the first thing.
And someone says to you, look, my budget this year is, let's just say, $250. What can I do to make a difference this year? You can work with that. You'll help people with it, or whatever
Absolutely.
it might be.
Generally, you're better starting with a sort of cohesive plan.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than doing a wee bit this year and a wee bit next year and then realising it doesn't work together. So if you can sort of put a plan in place first, and someone as well, like gardening can be expensive. So going away and getting your soil tested would be a good start as well, because you can then select plants that are suitable for that kind of soil rather than going buying a lot of plants that actually you like but won't work in your garden.
I hear you. All right, come here. We have to go.
Yep, that's the deal.
It's rattled through there. We've been chatting for ages. All right, listen, thanks very much for your time, Paul. You'll be back again soon. Hopefully we'll have a more sun.
Yes, absolutely. A bit more sun wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I just want a summer now. I don't, like we are in mid-July. Slight exaggeration, it's the 6th, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, we're going that direction.
The way these forecasts work now, like we know until next Thursday that we're not going to have good I used to want long range forecasts. Now I just want to tell me what's happening tomorrow.
That's what I got.
All right, listen, Paul, it's great to have you in. Paul's from Ballochder Garden Centre. As Paul says, sorry, it's not for me to say. Get down and have a chat with Paul and the team. And also that applies to all of the garden centres out there. They're all great and we'll be more than happy to help you. Right, we are going to take a break now as we try and set up for some great live music. Stay right where you are.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
The big Salento summer sale is now on, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Shop all your favourite brands in men's, women's and kids fashion at unbeatable prices. And just in time for the holiday season, look good, feel good and save money at Salento Strabane. Don't miss it. Euro rate 85 pence and free parking at Salento.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny proudly introduced its newest member of the team, a family-friendly robotic waiter. It's the only one of its kind in the Northwest, there to help staff serve customers. And with a packed menu to pick from all week, from early to late, there's loads to do. If you'd like to see this robotic waiter in action, just pop into Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Beat your personal best with top brands and premium running footwear from Michael Murphy Sports in Letterkenny. There's new arrivals from Asics, New Balance, Brooks, Adidas and Under Armour in a range of structured and neutral styles. There's also free next day delivery on orders over €85 at michaelmurphysports.ie.
I got my leaving cert results, I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? Like, I was a little bit stuck for a while. I didn't really know what path I was going to go down. I'm so glad, like, I did the PLC instead of going into a course that I wasn't 100% sure on. And I really enjoyed it. Like, I'm literally, like, recommending it to all my friends now.
Choose the path that's right for you. Choose further education and training. Learn more at thisisfet.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Transform your home with a visit to McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny, located at the Portlink Business Park just off the Port Road. You'll find a huge selection of top-quality suites, beds and mattresses, also slide robes and custom-made dining and occasional furniture, with prices to suit every budget. See the great choice for yourself at our showroom, McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. Click mcginleysfurniture.com.
Leisureland Redcastle, open every day from 12 till 5:30 p.m. Fantastic for family day trips. Excellent value for birthday party packages. For a wonderful family experience, check out leisurelandredcastle.ie.
All men's wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey John, quick, write this number down. 91 48 234.
Say that again, Mike.
91 48 234.
So what's that, Mike?
The number for Fleming Doors.
Fleming Doors?
No, Fleming Doors. You know, industrial doors, garage doors, roller doors, insulated doors.
Ah, okay, Mike. Give me that number again.
91 48 234.
Fleming's, engineering solutions for 150 years. Call us now on 074 91 48 234.
At Lidl, we've done our homework on lowering those back-to-school prices, like savings that fit the bill with our 100% cotton uniform bundle with t-shirt, jumper and trousers or skirt for ages 4 to 12, just €6. Fill their pencil case in one place with 3 for 2 on big stationery. Go on, shop without compromise and pay less. Go full Lidl today.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At Manor Motors Opel, we're half-full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mokka. Select your flexible payment option, pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See manormotors.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hello there, Farmer Tinny here. It's summer and Tinny's Toys have loads of swings, slides, trampolines, goalposts and many more outdoor toys and games. We've basketball stands, swing ball, sandpit diggers, kids' wheelbarrows and when the sun finally gets out, we've loads of paddling pools. Of course, we still have what we're famous for, the largest range of ride-on and small farm toys and models in Ireland. Shop 24/7 tinnystoys.com or call into Leck Road, Letterkenny. Down by.
Buddy the Musical is back at the Millennium Forum from Tuesday 8th till Saturday 12th of August. Don't miss this multi-award-winning West End and Broadway smash hit musical. This is a show you'll never forget. Come and join the party. It's just Peggy Superb. Call the ticket hotline on 02871 264455 or visit millenniumforum.co.uk.
Our biggest ever summer sale is now on. Up to 70% off while stocks last. Shop in store at Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park or online at evolveclothing.com. Our biggest ever summer sale is now on.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We have live music for you now. Dirt Tax. Jack. Hi, Jack.
Hello. How you doing?
Where are you, Jack? Jack's behind me. Hi, Jack. Don't creep up on me. I'm very nervous. Hi, Jack. How are you getting on back there? You okay?
Yeah, I'm grand.
You're on the drums.
I am.
I get you right in my ear, which is great, isn't it? Give us let's work it out there. Let you hear do something. Decent. All right, Jack. Well done, Bobby. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Bobby. I've got you there. Yeah. Don't be ageist. All right, Bobby. Good to have you with us. And also, we've got Sam.
Hello.
Hey, Sam. What's going on?
Nothing much.
Good to have you. Nothing much. And Paul, how are you, Paul?
How you doing?
Good to have you on as well. How long have you been playing, Bobby, is Dirt Tax?
About since last Christmas. So how long's that? Like 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you doing your own stuff, doing covers? What's the story?
A bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And any influences, or I mean, these are all individuals. So
yeah. Well, me and Jack love Oasis.
Right, brilliant.
They're big ones then.
All be Oasis. What's the Oasis?
Well,
Yeah, all right, okay. That's the common denominator, and outside of that, you all have your own interests as well, of course. Right, and you're young guys, I suppose, introduced through Oasis through your parents and stuff, I suppose. You know, that's how we get our influences, is it?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, all right, okay. So, you have played 5 gigs so far. You've been up here at Highland Radio, the RCC, the Loft, the Cottage Bar. What's it been like performing live as a group together?
Yeah, great. We love it.
I'd say it's a great buzz.
Yeah.
You know, because you do all the practice and then you get to see people reacting.
Yeah.
And you are performing at the Donegal Youth Services Our Generation Project Party in the Park. It'll take place on Friday the 7th of July, which is tomorrow, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. in the Letterkenny Burnham McGlinchey Town Park. Have you been up on a big stage before, or is this your sort of stage debut?
This will be the biggest.
Yeah, all right. So again, really exciting, and hopefully there's a big crowd.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about what is on offer for people tomorrow. But we're going to hear 2 tracks. What are you going to play for us first? And I just want to tell you to the audience listening and those that are watching, and you can watch the guys, is that we had to play a couple of adverts to get everything set up here. We've set up a whole band in about 3.5 minutes, which I don't think is too bad. So, Bobby, what are you going to play for us first?
Paraphernalia, it's called.
Right, okay.
It's our own song.
Right, so whenever you're ready, then all right. This is Dirt Tax, their own track, Paraphernalia.
I think that you're obscene.
Right, okay. Well, that's blown the cobwebs off. Well done.
All right.
Well done, lads. I think your vocals were coming through all right. You're so bloody noisy, but and I mean that in a good way, but I think they were in the end too. I pumped up my headphones and all was sounding good.
Okay.
Lovely. Brilliant stuff. Well done. That sounds really good. It's a good track.
Yeah.
Who wrote it? Is it collaborative?
Yeah, well, Jack wrote the lyrics.
All right, good stuff. Well done, Jack.
Yeah, kind of all of us, yeah.
All right, okay. So how long is your set tomorrow? Do you know? Like, how many tracks are you going to get to play tomorrow on...
Well, we've got 20 minutes, is it? Yeah. 20 minutes.
Brilliant. All right,
4 or
okay.
5.
Excellent stuff. So it's going to be a short, sharp shock. All right, listen, as I say, sounds fantastic. So what are you going to do for us next then?
Rhythm of My Mind, another one of our own.
All right, brilliant stuff. All right, and can that go down a wee bit? Those two go down just a little bit, just half a turn.
Me as well?
No, you're grand. You shout louder, son. No, it's just to take the music down a little bit, just so we get your vocals through a little bit clearer. Well, that being said, it sounded good the last time. All right, come here. So tell us what the track is again.
Rhythm of My Mind.
All right, okay. Take it away, guys. Dirt Tax once more time for you.
I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling fine. Getting out of bed, I got rhythm on my mind. I wanna write a song, but I don't know how. Strum my guitar and the drums are going pow, pow, pow. And so make something out of silence. I'm gonna make a song today. So make something out of silence. I'm gonna make a song today. But what do I say? I'm on my way to school on a subway train, thinking of the rhythm as I'm looking at the rain. I'm running from a killer who is on the loose. I'm trying to write, but I've got an excuse. And so make something out of silence. I'm gonna make a song today. So make something out of silence. I'm gonna make a song today. I've broken my guitar and I'm singing now. I'm free from this prison and I don't know how. I hear the sirens wailing and I start a row. I'm running from myself and the guns are going pow, pow, pow. And so make something out of silence. I'm gonna make a song today. So make something out of silence. I'm gonna make a song today. But what do I say? I don't know what to say.
Yeah, well done. Brilliant stuff, lads. That sounds absolutely brilliant. And I just hope it came across on the radio just as good as it sounded in here. Right, so you're playing the Our Generation Project Party tomorrow night in the Letterkenny Burnham McGlinchey Town Park between 12 and 6. Well, we'll not say what time you're on it. People can get there at 12 and enjoy all of the acts, right? Anything else coming up for the summer? The Lennon Festival's ongoing at the moment.
We played it last festival.
Right, how did that go?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Brilliant, great experience. Burton Port Festival, Rathmullen Festival, have they happened yet, or are they upcoming gigs?
They're coming.
All right, okay.
And 27th.
If anyone wants to give you, a gig opportunity, how do they contact you? Through socials, Instagram. Okay.
Dirt Tax.
We have a phone number, so.
It's all there. All right, good man, Jack. Listen, well done to all 4 years. It is 4, isn't it? Yeah, well done. That sounded great. Okay, so you can check them out. Tomorrow, by the way, we're going to bring someone in to talk about it. No, we can't because the drums are blocking the door. Right, okay, I'll tell you all about that a little later on, but we'll take a quick break now, and that'll clear the decks for the rest of the show. Well done, Dirt Tax, Jack, Bobby, Sam and Paul.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Experience comfort like never before at half the price in our massive hotel quality mattress sale now on at Better Value Furnishings Moville. Due to overstocking, we must clear hundreds of mattresses at half price. Get your quality mattress at half price and sleep like a king. Better Value Furnishings, Main Street, Moville. See our Facebook for more details.
Dreaming of a getaway this summer? There's still time to book with TUI, flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon airports. Summer, best enjoyed on holiday. TUI, live happy.
Did you know Cool Kids Sligo have the biggest range of baby equipment in the Northwest, with 25 years of baby expertise? Cool Kids Sligo take deposits on your baby bundle. Visit us in-store at Cool Kids Sligo or shop online at babyaccessories.ie for free nationwide delivery. Make Cool Kids Sligo your #1 destination for all things baby.
Attention Inishowen shoe lovers. Step into Grant Shoes Buncrana, the heart and soul of our town since 1926. From Clark's to Skechers, find fabulous footwear for men, women and kids, all at unbeatable prices. Don't miss our summer sale where amazing discounts await you. Visit us in-store or online at grantshoes.com for your perfect pair of shoes.
Donegal's premier summer event, Errigal Arts Festival, brings you fantastic events for all ages and all backgrounds. This July 8th to 23rd. Enjoy award-winning music, theatre, circus, visual and street arts, in person from the offshore islands and the West Donegal Giltuct to the lowlands of East Donegal and the shores of the Inishowen Peninsula. Visit eaf.ie for full details on Errigal Arts Festival, proudly supported by Donegal County Council.
Okay, right, now on to some of your comments coming in, or should we go to our next guest? Actually, we'll go straight to our next guest. Colette O'Donnell is owner of O'Donnell School of Motoring. Hi, Colette.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
It's good to have you on board on the show. And you know what? It's interesting that I'm talking to you because I did see a few comments from people on social media with their own personal experience, and that is an unpleasant experience when out on your L plates trying to learn how to drive or to get that experience, but other drivers not having perhaps the patience that they could have.
Oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. You're actually sitting on learning, or teaching people how to drive. It's absolutely terrible. I come across it every single day.
Any examples? What kind of stuff do you see?
Right, I'll give you one example. I was going around at the lights round by the cinema one day, and I had a learner driver on, and there was a man behind me in a van, and the light was flashing amber, and obviously it was taking a little bit of a while for the girl to move off, and he was blowing the horn behind me, and I have a middle mirror here on my side as well, and I could see him, and I'm shaking away his hands and the aggression in his face. And by the time the girl moved off, the light was green. So he followed us, then he was round behind us, then as we were turning up the back road up by the Chinese, and we moved into the right lane. He pulled up alongside of me. It was a lovely day, the window was down on my side, and he started cursing to me. And he says, "You should not be a driving instructor. Do you not know what a flashing amber light is?" I says, "Yes, I do know what a flashing amber light is." He says, but I'm dealing with a learner driver here, and he was cursing at me, and he stuck his 2 fingers up to me and drove off.
Well, I mean, that's a him problem now, because I wouldn't like to be walking around in his head because the car is clearly a vehicle. You know what I mean? It is a car that is there for training people to drive. People know what it's there for. We see them around all of the time. You show grace. I think most people do, don't they, Colette? Or are you seeing it more and more instances of impatience and ignorance?
No, I'm seeing more and more of it, Greg, to be quite honest with you. I've actually seen people behind, maybe at roundabouts, and I can see them again in my mirror, and they're shaking their hands, shaking their head. They actually, if they're a bit slow moving off, they'll actually go out around you and pull in, and maybe sometimes nearly cause an accident by what they're doing. And I actually had somebody go into the back of me once. They were that close up behind me. They actually hit my car because the person stalled, and they actually hit the back of my car then, so it took them longer then to get away. But no, the people are getting more impatient. But that's if they're like that on the road, that's actually a reflection on them as well. That's what they're actually like in their daily lives as well. Do you know what I mean? That's their arrogance.
It's just showing a little bit of care for predominantly probably young people, not exclusively.
Yeah.
That they're nervous as hell. They're trying to get on the road. Who's to say they're not trying to do it so they can get a job, or they're waiting on the test for a job? You know, like we've all been there at some point or other. What is wrong with people that they can't breathe? Count to 5, or if it takes 10, count to 10, and the thing is it doesn't interfere in their day at all. That person who was trying to get your learner to move on amber, how long is it? 8 seconds does it take to go from amber to green?
Flash and amber, flash and amber.
You know, like it's seconds. It's not a minute.
Yeah. But how would they like if someone was treating their son or daughter or a member of their
family? People don't think like that anymore, it seems, Colette. People just don't think like that anymore.
No. They don't think like that. Like, you know, it's just pure arrogance. Like, in the sign, as you say, is on top of the car. They know it's a learner car. They know that they're learning to drive. Like, they're intimidating them. Then the person gets more nervous. And then, you know, they're right up behind them. They're driving right up close by, and they're not giving them the space. And the person's getting more nervous. Then if they stall the car, and then they're blowing the horn, then they're more nervous. Then they're going to start, you know, doing things then that they wouldn't normally do if people was. But there is, now don't get me wrong, there is genuinely nice people out there that will be courteous to the learner drivers and will let them go and have the patience with them.
But
like,
Colette,
you know,
can I say,
see
that person that was screaming blue murder at you, right?
Yeah.
You can be sure that person, when they get to a roundabout, they'll go into whichever lane gets them away quickly. They'll not bother with the indicators because they don't care who's in front of them or behind them. They'll cross lanes. They'll skip lights. They're the ones that you meet that have skipped the lights at the road work and you're nose to nose halfway through. You know what I mean? And they're the fully qualified driver. Do you know, you can just imagine how that person might drive. He's flashing his lights behind you if you're going 50 kilometres per hour on the 4 lanes. You know he's bashing the lights and bibbing the horn like.
Yeah, there's another case where there's one resident where we do the turnabout, and we actually we're out on the test routes, and he'll come up and he'll actually drive up on the pavement. He'll come round, he'll blow the horn, he'll drive up on the pavement to get around the learner driver, even when they're out in the driving test as well. He'll do this, and he'll pure intimidate them. He'll drive right up to your door of your car, then he'll reverse back, and then he'll go up and around the pavement then, because he feels that we shouldn't be on the road up around where we're doing the turnabout.
In fairness, Colette, I have heard people with some frustration of learner drivers doing those kind of manoeuvres at peak times. And I'm not in any way just saying that behaviour is justified, but is there an issue there that maybe, you know, when people are learning that they could to keep out of, but then again, how are you going to learn if you're not doing it when it's the busiest?
Yeah, but we have as much right to be on the road as anybody else. We're paying our tax and insurance. Like, you know, there's nothing, like, you know, like why, like, you know, there's peak times. Like, you know, if you go home at a peak time, you're going to be stuck in traffic. Like, you know, I mean, like, you know, we're only there for not even a minute doing a turnabout, like, you know what I mean? So we're not holding traffic up that much. And, like, you know, so, like, if there's delays in town and traffic, like, you're going to be sitting in traffic, like, there's nothing you can do about it, like, you know what I mean? So, like, people have to learn to drive, people have to learn to practice on test routes. So, like, you know, I think we've very much right to be on the road to do our job as well as anybody else. Like, we're teaching people a skill, we're teaching people safety on the road. So I think, like, you know, at the end of the day, we're doing a good job, and I think, you know, we're making safer drivers on the road, and people need to appreciate that, and just a bit of common sense, a bit of respect for the learner drivers, and that's all we're looking for when we're out there, like, at the end of the day, Greg. Like,
it's
you
the
know,
aggression
compassion.
you see, it's the aggression. I mean, like, you know, I can understand that people can get a little bit frustrated, and if you verbalise it internally, right, or squeeze the steering wheel a little bit tighter, okay, that's going to happen because people are busy. But it's this aggression towards not only you, but also a young person who could be up to hide up with nerves. It depends. It's the aggression. It's the confrontation. It's the gesturing. It's the swearing. There's no need or justification for that in any situation. I'm no angel. I think people know that. I'm a normal person, and bib the horn or effing blind very, very rarely. I'm not saying I've never done it right, but certainly not to a learner driver. But my point is that it's creeping in more and more when we're not respecting or caring about each other as much as we used to for some reason.
Yeah, but you've got to realise as well, even if it's not even to learn driving, even if somebody is maybe a bit slow on the road, you don't know what that person has gone through in their personal life that day, or maybe, they maybe got bad news, maybe they, and people's blowing the horn, being aggressive to them as well.
They could be the nurse that you end up under their care off in the hospital, who's to say?
Yeah, exactly. A bit of, they don't know what they've gone through that day, so a bit of compassion, and then they're adding extra stress onto their lives. People need to sit back, take a look at what they're doing to other people and show a bit of respect for other people. At the end of the day, people need to just show a bit of respect for other people and a bit of compassion for other people. That's all we're looking for in this life. I think at the end of the day, that's what we're just looking for here. And maybe by highlighting it on your show today, by highlighting it in the paper today, maybe all of this, maybe people will take a step. Maybe people will take a step back and look at it. Hopefully this will. And thank you. I really appreciate you for highlighting it on the show today. And hopefully people will take note of it.
Before I let you go, Clet, how's the frustration levels amongst your students with the delay in actually sitting their test? Obviously you have to wait 6 months before you can apply. After you pass your test, your theory, for an example, and you have to do your 12 mandatories. But then when you get to apply and you go on the estimator and it's 3, 4, 5, 6 months before you're even invited to apply, we need to get that time frame down, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely do. And they are recruiting new testers, so hopefully it will bring it down. But it is quite frustrating for people who need it for work, who need it for, maybe people, emigrating as well. And then if they go then and they fail the test and then, they're back on the same waiting list again, they need to do something they definitely do need to do something to bring the waiting times down. And it is frustrating for young people. It's frustrating. So they are recruiting new testers, so hopefully they will bring it down. And at the end of the day, people just want to get their license and get on the road. And especially with us living in such a rural place, there's not much transport here. So we do need the car. We do need to get on the road as soon as possible after we pass our test, after we pass our theory and get our lessons behind us. We do need to get on the road as soon as possible.
All right, Clet, lovely chatting to you. Clet O'Donnell, owner of O'Donnell School of Motoring, simply asking a little bit of understanding, courtesy and basic manners. Internalise your frustrations if you have them, but why scar another person's day when you've forgotten about it 10 minutes later and they could be bothered by it for the next day? All right then, thanks Colette.
Thank you, Greg. Lovely chatting to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed for that. A caller says, we're all disgusted with the mismanagement of public money in RTE, but delve into the same mismanagement of public money that are public sector. That's where you'll get your eyes open. Well, it is public sector as well. Hi, Greg. Wonder about these people on the radio. Remember the election voting machine scandal? Bet the taxpayer public money still paying rent for these machines and the claim of expenses and not in the Dáil and all. It could go on and on and on. How many of the... I don't know. I think that was resolved, but I do know it's going to cost $8,000 a year to store the set for the Late Late Show musical, which is not insignificant. All right, we'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Stay tuned, though. John Breslin is on the way as it turns 12 o'clock. We get a news update now from Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good afternoon.